How's everybody doing on this Sunday? It's the Proof in the Pudding podcast show, and I go by the name of Scion 919. And this is our trauma series, part 5. And I'm sitting here with a very special guest. She's a psychoeducational therapist, and this is our 5th show. We're talking about mental health, y'all. Today we got a real important topic, yo. A lot of people was chiming in all week, so I know this is going to be a good one right here. We're talking about the independent Black woman, and we're talking about Black families on the day, yo. We're going to tie it all together, the mental health and how it affects what we got going on. So without any further ado, let's welcome her to the stage. Y'all already know she's going to come with the real. Yo, this is my sister. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I'm always excited about our show. So how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It was a good Sunday. I actually found myself being lazy in certain parts. I probably shouldn't have been, but overall it's been good. It's getting warm. I will tell you that though, it's getting warm.
Oh yeah, it's real warm out there. It feels good though. It's like summer popping its head out, so it's like we deserve it. We had a nasty winter and all that, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
We do, but I ain't ready for the heat wave that starts next week. They said smooth hot 90s. I said, well, wait a minute. We ain't gonna just bump this thing up slowly. We're just gonna get right into it.
We're gonna jump in it. Yo, the sun said I'm outside. Everybody talking about they outside. The sun said I'm outside.
Right. Come see me sometime.
Right. Yeah, so that's real right there, yo. So we talking about the independent movement. It's popping up. Talking about the pros and cons on the day, right? Yo, okay. So I know you got a lot of good stuff in store.
I do. And as we talk about the independent movement, we're talking about how that does really affect healthy Black relationships, families, but we're also going to touch about the 5 mindsets of our Black women that do have a tendency to hinder their ability to have successful relationships. There's a couple other things that we'll get into with that. So, you know me, before we start, I always like to let people know that as we discuss certain topics, I know that things can feel like they are being offensive. It is not my goal to go out of my way to offend anybody at any time, but to bring awareness and to educate about a certain topic. And I know that when it comes to Black families and Black love, you know, a lot of us want that very thing. But we don't really see the breakdowns that have kind of hindered some of that. And with me being a woman, I think it's easier to speak on the woman aspect of, you know, where we break down at, that makes it difficult for us to be, you know, healthy, to be in relationships with Black men. And I think, you know, at some point we'll also touch a little bit about, you know, some studies that were done with married Black men who really talked about why they shied more away from marrying within their race to resulting into marrying outside of their race.
So they switched teams. They said, all right, I'm done.
Which is very unfortunate when you think about it.
You know, because
we've talked about this, you know, me being biracial, biracial children come with their own set of, you know, identity issues as they're progressing in life and things of that nature that, you know, you don't really hear a lot about. You know, people will have their opinions about biracial, but if you've never been biracial and you're not biracial, you really don't understand how those two cultural differences can kind of tug at you. So I advocate heavily, you know, I am pro-Black, you know, I love all people, but I am pro-Black. And I would like to see, you know, within our community that we have more, you know, Black love and healthy Black families. But in order for that to happen, you know, we have to be educated. And it's not a loss. But if we're not willing to, you know, do some self-reflection, to really look at ourselves and see ourselves, then we're not able to understand how we can correct the problem within us so that, you know, we're one less person that's causing damage to the culture.
And that's the thing right there. It's not important anymore. Back in the days, it was important, very important part of the family, being together, everybody being in one house. Nowadays, it's like pretty much you got roommate situations, you got partnerships going on.
Situationships. The
situationships. Entanglements and all of that.
Yes, and you know, it's here's a hardcore fact for women, and I know they don't want to hear it, and you know, I've heard it from my friends. You know, well, you wouldn't understand because you're married. You know, and I have been with my husband since I was 24. So, I didn't really have a lot of that 20 era. I think that some people may have had as a dolo individual.
Right.
So I tried to empathize, with that. But here becomes the reality today. There is about, for every black man, right? Let's just say let's just say in general, for every man, but we could say for every black man, right? According to the study, they've done a study.
Right.
For every 91 black men, there's there's 100 women and then there's 91 black men. So basically, a man has 9 women that he can select from.
Right.
So there is definitely a shortage of black men, than there is of black women. So that's a real reality. And that kind of makes some sense when you talk about what you see as far as competition and, lowering standards and certain things like that, because they know, hey, I got 8 other women that I'm competing for against with just this one man. Wow. So I think it's easy too for women to want to step outside of their race also.
Right.
And to date, outside and to marry someone outside. But I think a lot of that has to do with unhealthy expectations and ideologies. I'm a firm believer you can love who you love, and sometimes you just mesh well better with someone of a different race.
Right.
But for us to really have that healthy in community love and interaction, we really got to take a hardcore look at some things about us as women and what we believe, and whether that is a detriment, to our own failures in being able to have those healthy relationships.
Wow. That's real right there. It's like you said, healthy relationships. A lot of people that get in relationships, they're toxic, they damage. So they hurting and damaging other people out there. It's just the way I love, take it or leave it. But it's not healthy.
No, it's not. And there's a wonderful woman. Her name is Atia, and she belongs to and it just escaped my mind, and it's crazy because I had just made sure I tried to make it fresh in my mind. But she belongs to, it's black coaching, black women coaches. They're a YouTube organization, but it's all black women who coach other black women. And so she came up with an article that says 5 mindsets that hinder black women in successful relationships. And she came up with this because she said she fell in one of these categories herself. She had been married and divorced twice. And, so, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
That's a fact.
But she really talked about like the women that were trying to get coached because they wanted to be in long-term relationships, and what were they doing wrong, and how could they improve that? And one of the things that she likes to do is she tries to throw a little bit of humor involved in when she's addressing these topics, like these 5 stages, these 5 different mindsets, because it can be a little bit of it can be a little hurtful when you got to hear these things and be like, is that really me?
Right.
But her first one, she calls it Bitter Barbara. She named it Bitter Barbara. And Bitter Barbara has been deeply hurt by some man somewhere in her life. And Bitter Barbara blames all men for the consequence of her pain. So that one relationship that did something that was just horrible, whether it was infidelity or, some kind of an abuse or,
disappointment.
She just can't get over it.
Right.
And we all know somebody like that. I mean, I know somebody like that. You didn't do this to me, and forever it will follow the track record of every man. Right. But she likes to say that Bitter Barbara has had opportunities to be in successful relationships with men and has had good men come into her life.
Right.
But because she's so upset and bitter by what happened to her that she can't let go of the pain, she doesn't even recognize a good man when he steps in front of her.
Right.
She don't see it.
Right. She's damaged, so she's the only thing she sees is she's still stuck on the pain right there, the
Right.
betrayal or whatever happened, right?
Right. She likes to use it as, you know, bitter Barbara, she hasn't been able to rationally separate, right?
Right.
Basically, the baby from the bathwater kind of sense.
Wow.
So instead of separating the baby from the water, she just throws the whole thing away
Threw the whole
altogether.
thing away. Threw the whole
You know
thing
what I'm
away.
saying?
Right.
And what happens is the good black men that have come in and out of her life, she just can't see past the pain. So because she can't see past the pain, when it comes to love and marriage and the baby carriage and all that, too many
Right.
black men are not interested in dealing with a woman that has that much bitter and resentment.
Right.
Because what you're making this man do is you're making him pay for the sins of someone else.
Right.
And there's not enough love, validation, gratification that he can give you to kind of work you through that. And number two, it's not his responsibility to do that. You
Right.
have to make sure that you yourself are healthy enough to come into a relationship, not bringing in this kind of baggage that someone else has to pay for.
Right.
Wow. And that's really important. Now you got some men out here that may try to stick it out with you for a minute, try to help you do these things, because we have people that naturally love people and naturally like certain attributes about them, and they don't want to see or focus on this flaw. But eventually that flaw will become to a point where it's like nothing that I do gives you the security that you need. Because I like to classify bitter Barbara as she'll never focus on the positive.
She just see the negative.
She's waiting for it. Bitter Barbara is that person in the back corner that's like, your friends is like, girl, he's so good to you and he's doing A, B, C, and D. And she like, but that one time he gonna slip up and I'm gonna catch him. Bitter Barbara's the one that's going through phones. Bitter Barbara's the one that's stalking all your social media. Bitter Barbara's the one that she's focused on finding something so that she feels she's not crazy, right, instead of focusing on what's good at the moment.
What's good at the moment. And then that's a powerful thing you said. So when you're so uptight and finding something, you go looking, you always will find something. But let's talk about that right there. You said the bitter Barbara syndrome, where it's like he's not even the one hurting. It's somebody else hurted it. So now he's with her. He has to wear the burden. So he's paying the penalty for something somebody else did.
Right.
So now he's trying the best he can. Baby, I love you. I would never hurt you. You just like the rest of them.
That's right.
So eventually, how do you hold it together for somebody that may be watching? It may be bitter Barbara. It may be a man watching the show and he's at the end of his rope. Like, if she started that stuff one more time, I'm done. How do you turn it around for the bitter Barbaras out there? Where it's like, how do you get past that? Because a lot of times we rush. And a lot of people say, go get up under somebody else. You get out of a relationship. They say, go get up under somebody else, but you never dealt with it. So now you bring this in here. So now you bring bitter Barbara in there.
Right. So bitter Barbara, here's the reality. Okay. And I'm going to say it, and it's probably not going to be the nicest thing. We say you got nothing but time.
Right.
The reality is you don't have time. Time is not even time. So for anybody that's in my age bracket, it's about 38 and older, those of us who haven't dealt with certain things, we understand the trial and error that is attached to that. And the older we get, the less likely we are to make certain changes. Right. So when you get to be about 40, not saying that you can't change, not saying that you won't change, but the likelihood of change is going to diminish because you're so rooted in your ways. Right. Now somebody got to go in there and they got to untangle all of that. You got to get a whole new mindset. A lot of people don't want to go through that. They become comfortable and complacent with who they are and how they think.
Right. Right.
So here becomes the problem with it. You can stay with somebody that's got all these insecurities, that doesn't have a healthy understanding of what a real relationship looks like. Right. You can stay there. But I promise you, your marriage or your relationship will not produce the fruit that you want it to have. That's because relationships are about security. They're about trust. It's not about waiting for somebody to do something to you. Because if you're waiting for someone to do something to you,
you already gave up.
Then there's no sense in enjoying the relationship.
Right. You already done threw your hand.
You're not enjoying anything because everything that they do, you're thinking it's because of something else.
Right.
So if you are a bitter barber or you know someone that's a bitter barber, the best thing that I could say with that is to really go and talk to somebody about it. Sometimes you just really need to get some things off your chest. And it's okay to talk to our girlfriends, about those things. But I'm a firm believer healing comes from God, number one. Right. Number two, go see a therapist, somebody to talk you through it, because they're really going to help you work through that cognitive process that you need in order to really be able to talk about it and not just vent. Because when we get with our girlfriends, sometimes we just vent.
Right.
And venting can help. But sometimes people are not equipped to walk you through the process that is required for you to actually get the healing that you need so that you know how to move on successfully.
After, right.
So that's my biggest take on that. And girlfriends will hype you up too sometimes. Girl, yeah, you right. Look at the people in your life and in your circle, especially with women.
Right.
Women will kicky cat with each other, and I have been in that bracket. Girl, yeah, they ain't, girl, he ain't nothing.
Right.
Girl, he ain't this, and honey, you should have just. But I'm thinking about the individual.
Right.
But now, if you take that and you apply that principle to everyone, you can't do that. But sometimes girlfriends will do that with each other.
Right.
I will validate your feelings and be like, girl, no, he wasn't no good for you, and girl, that was a bad situation.
Right.
But at the same time, I'll ask you, what could you have done differently in that situation?
What could you have done?
Because it always takes two.
Right.
Bad behavior isn't just given on one. There's an action and then there's a response to that.
Right. That's
what I'm saying? So
that's definitely a fact.
Bitter Barber, like I said, Bitter Barber has had good men. Bitter Barber just can't get over the fact that she's been hurt by one person, and she can't let that go. And Bitter Barber's got to get some help to work through that, because she's sabotaging her chances at being in a situation that is going to be healthy for her. Not only that, Bitter Barber, if she has children, will pass down that negative ideology to her children.
Down her children. That's
so now we're passing down interaction styles between Black men and Black women to the next generation.
Wow. Right. And that's the thing right there. So when we're talking about the bitter barbers and we're talking about bad habits, sometimes if we're not ready to deal with it, our partner may see it in us. Right. Say, yo, let's work on this. Let's fix this. I want it to work. I see where we headed. We're getting off the path. I wanted to work with you.
Right.
Let's fix it. But then you have these people. You trying to change me. I'm not trying to change you, but sometimes change is good if it's in the right way. It's when people are afraid of change from a toxic behavior. Yes. Afraid to change from something that didn't work in the last relationship, but you want to keep doing it that way. This is how I am. Is everybody else tripping? It's not me. Right.
No. But see, you gotta think men are different than women.
Right.
And I'll hit a couple points on that a little later, but I really want women to understand that men are different than women, and men's approach to relationships are not our approaches to relationships. So it is easier for you to run a man off than you think that it is.
He said, I ain't got time for this, yo. I'm done.
Men don't think like we do. And so when I get into that portion at the end, when we kind of talk a little bit about men, like I said, I can only go so much into about what I know about men and based on the research.
Right.
But it would really be for a man to really explain to women in their regard about themselves in a more in-depth manner.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we might next time we might bring some men up here, do like a little forum, because they don't want to hear my mouth. I can tell you that now on that subject. They don't want to hear my mouth.
All insight is good insight. And and if you got some insight, on some of this, give me some feedback too. Right. I can't see any of the any of the things
Yes.
because my screen is so far back. So
Nah, it's all good. That's Day Day right there. Salute to Day Day. She's just checking in, letting us know she's watching.
I appreciate them googly eyes. I'm trying to figure out some.
So yeah, so right. So we're talking about not wanting to change, not embracing the change.
Right.
And how that affects the relationship. Where it's like if you don't see it in yourself, you continue to keep on down this damaging path.
Well, a lot of times we don't recognize that. And as women in our culture, we know that a lot of us have a lot of friends. And boy, we've all had some experiences.
Right.
So we like to come together. In our situation, see, for women who come together who are single, right? You single, your friends are single. Boy, it's gonna be a different kind of circle and how that's going to flow when it comes to conversation. For me, being a married Black woman, and I have a couple single friends, right? I can sit here and say, yes, that situation was bad for you. What could you have done differently? But there is someone out there for you. But what you need to do at this moment is now you need to work on yourself and kind of learn from that relationship, really kind of process that situation, and then think about, okay, what can I do different moving forward? Right? So then your next number 2, she likes to call independent Eileen.
Independent Eileen.
Now, Eileen doesn't need a man to take care of her. Okay?
I don't need nothing for nothing.
Eileen says, I got my own car, my own house. I got a high-paying job. I can move the refrigerator myself or my furniture, or I can pay somebody to do it. Okay.
Wow. And she roll up playing Scrubs, TLC Scrubs. She roll up. That's her theme song.
Look, Eileen said, I'll bring home the bacon and I can fry it too.
Wow.
Eileen says the only thing she needs a man for is to get her rocks off. But really, Eileen doesn't even need that because now they make battery operated stuff you just put in your drawer. You can use it when you want to and put it back in the drawer, right?
That's a fact.
What independent Eileen, and this is a big movement right now for all Black women.
The independent Eileens.
Is the independent Eileens.
Right.
And I will hit that because I understand, and this is part of a study too that was taken from, Black men who are married, their opinion on why their view on why they married outside of this.
Wow.
But this was a study that was done.
Right.
And the study is actually it is in a journal. It is an APA journal. This was a real study that was conducted with 52 men.
Right.
One of the biggest key points that I took out of that I compared to independent Eileen was education and employment, right?
Right.
Incarceration and gender relations.
Wow. You're getting real.
So if we go back to gender relations and we look at slavery, okay, we know that a lot of times male slaves were not always allowed to be housed with their families.
Right.
Now they were allowed to mate because they wanted to keep the production,
but they won't
stay
around.
So they can continue to have slaves.
Right.
But when men were removed, you have to think about how that affected, them socially.
Right.
Right? The social and financial function. Not only that, but think about that moving forward, right? So you could say after slavery, there was a level of healthy Black families, because you'll even see if you watch certain shows, you'll see that in the 50s, there were healthy Black families. Right.
It was important.
Right. Marriage was big, being married, having children. It wasn't until the 70s, again, with the Vietnam, and then, after Vietnam, and then with the crack era, and then moving them into public housing, saying, hey, you and your children can stay here, but the man cannot. So again, removing the man from the household, again, contributes to a negative idea around social and financial functions of which a man plays a role in within a family. But it also breeds negative orientations and attitudes around interactions of styles between men and women.
Right.
So when now you see those removed, now we're getting negative thoughts and attitudes and belief systems that are now, again, passed down generation to generation. So
Right.
what that has caused women to now bring to their younger daughters is you need to be independent. You need to be able to take care of yourself. You need
Right.
to be able to go and get yourself that six-figure paying job that you want. You need to be able to go and do these things. Now,
Right.
I'm a firm believer in education is a great thing. Education is a great thing. And when you are single, you do have to take care of yourself.
That's a fact.
You need to be able to do that, right?
Facts.
But it's gone too far. It's gone
Right.
too far because when you sit here and say, I don't need you, you ain't never gonna handle it.
Right.
Because a man wants to feel needed. He needs to feel wanted. He needs to feel that. If you wear the pants like he wears the pants, then he ain't got no need to be with you.
Right.
Because you're gonna emasculate him.
Right.
There can only be one head of a household. Now, I don't care if you want to spiritually design it, however you want to do it. But God said he made man and then he made woman from man. So there's already a hierarchy. And I think a lot of times what happens is independent Eileen doesn't understand submissiveness. Okay? And submissiveness means that a woman submits to her husband. It means that she is willing to allow him to lead.
Right.
But she is able to, so I want to make sure I make it simplified for everybody.
Right.
So
Right.
it means that she's allowing him to lead, and that she is allowing him to be the leadership, and that she believes that it is reasonable and just that he is in lead, and that she trusts that he is going to make decisions for their household that is going to be of a benefit to them, right? She's not going to assert authority over him in front of other people. You're not going to make him look like he's beneath you in front of other people. I like to say a submissive woman doesn't go around if your husband or somebody's having a big old party and it's nothing but men, there ain't no reason for you to be in there if they having poker night.
Right.
Move your tail out of the way. Submissiveness.
Right.
But it also means that you see, I think when we think about submissiveness, we think that we don't have a voice.
Right.
Submissiveness means that me and my husband, we sit down, we have a conversation about something.
Right.
Okay. My husband asked me, what do you think? What do you think? We are equal in the context that we are going to have this conversation.
Right.
Now, if I disagree with him and he says, I get that you disagree, but I need you to trust me. I need to be able to let him make that leadership decision because I know that he does it with the best intention.
Right.
But if I try to stop him from taking certain risks or things that are going to benefit us, I'm not letting him lead. There can't be two heads of state in the house. It can't. Right. You're going to clash it every time. So you're so independent that you don't know how to submit. You don't understand that men don't want masculine energy.
Right. That's a real
fact. He doesn't want to be laid up with another hard body man and he ain't homosexual.
Right.
But if your attitude is of that of a man, that's a turn off.
Right.
So you can go and be independent by your dang on self because you don't need me. Right. You're not going to let me be a man. You're going to emasculate me. You want me to be the woman and you want to be the man. Regardless of how we want to slice it or dice it, men and women are made different.
Right.
We're made different. And that is for a reason. I like to say that God didn't make no mistakes about the design.
Right.
But the minute that you try to overthrow or assert authority over a man, baby, you ain't gonna have no man. And ain't no man gonna deal with that.
Right. Nah,
so that's a hindrance for Black women being able to be in a healthy relationship with a man, because what she's doing is, she wants to wear the pants that he was meant to wear.
Right.
So she's emasculating him, disempowering him, basically handicapping him by a woman who needs to have the feel, who wants to deny him the ability to complete, or step into the role that which is designed for him as a man.
Right.
So if you're going to fight him for that kind of power, and independent women also have this issue. You know, somewhere along the guideline, I don't know where, this new generation, social media, I don't know.
Right.
But this whole 6-figure movement with men, baby, you keep on dreaming all you want to. Because I'm going to tell you, like, I'm going to say it like this. I said the numbers earlier. For one man, there is 9 women. He's got to pick. Men have the leverage today that women don't have. And that is a real reality that I think a lot of us don't want to look at. See, men can say, okay, I got all these 9 women I can choose from.
Right.
I'm going to choose one that best suits me. So while you out here striving and trying to put all these expectations, right, that I like to call that are not realistic for a relationship, but more for a worldly to be able to look at, or people in the world to be able to look at and admire, which shouldn't matter what the world thinks, because your marriage or your relationship should be sacred anyway. Fact. So if you out here, well, he's got to make 6 figures, and he's got to do this, and he's got to do that. He's got to do this, and he's got to do that. But what about his criteria for you as a woman? See, we don't want to look at it on the flip side.
Right.
And we as women have been lied to by Disney that you're a princess, and that, you know, this is you know, the land that we should live in, and you should be in this fairy tale, and he should do. And but Cinderella, they never said what Cinderella had to do as a wife.
Right.
They never painted that light. What happened after Cinderella got married? I want to see that follow-up movie. Where's Cinderella after she got the prince? Because the prince didn't just say, come in here, lay up, be beautiful, baby, and that's it. Right. That's the thing. So I think that we get misconstrued with that we don't look at, you want to come with this independent, and I get it. We're educated. And women have better opportunities of employment because, number one, the men has been removed from the household. So younger women are preached to, you know, by other women in their families. Hey, you got to be successful for yourself. You got to go get it. You know, you know, the ideologies are passed down. Yes, we do have a number of large Black men that, you know, a large number of Black men that are incarcerated. I empathize and I understand that wholeheartedly. Okay, so Black women have a less likely of being incarcerated, right? Right. So they have more of an opportunity to, you know, get the education, get the employment. Right. So they may have leverage that men don't have, right? But we're not about rehabilitating our own people within our own culture. Now, I'm not saying go and get you a pedophile that's fresh out of jail. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying go and get you a mass murderer that was released from jail. You got to figure out whether or not people are really rehabilitated, if they're willing to do what they're supposed to do. But if you're a woman that makes 6 figures, but you get with a man that makes $70,000 a year, you don't want that man because he makes $70,000 a year. So it's not about the real relationship. It's not about what's internal. It's not about the building of 2 people, because you're looking at the numbers that he doesn't qualify to make. And then you high-powered women hang out with other high-powered women. So now they've all adopted that same ideology. So now you constantly get negative reinforcement. Girl, he don't make that much money. What you do? So we don't know how to support Black men, to build them, to really help them be in the position that they should be in within our lives. And I'm not sitting here saying you got to front the bill. That's not what I'm saying. In a marriage, you know, there is no independence in a marriage. Right. We're not codependent, but that independency is kind of diminished because the dependent is interchangeable to each other.
Right.
You know, you depend on your husband for certain things. Wives, you know, husbands depend on their wives for certain things. So it's not about who has the most dependency on the other person. It's
Right.
about how do we depend on each other. And I think that when you have the independent movement, it removes that ability for submissiveness because men are also submissive to their wives.
Right.
You know, men submit by being protective, you know, by providing, you know, by entrusting their offspring. You know, that men have their own way that they submit before a woman and that vulnerability. So it's a two-way street. But if you want to emasculate a man because he doesn't make X amount of money, then you're shallow because you're saying that the luxury of something is better than the actual feeling of something,
Right.
and the building of something.
Right. And that's the thing, like I was saying earlier, it becomes more like a partnership, where it's like it's a business arrangement. It's like, yo, we can come together and the love gets taken out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking from a man's point of view, every man wants to feel needed.
Yes.
Every man wants to know that his woman believes in him.
That's right.
So it's like with the independent movement as a black man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love to see it in certain ways. And in other ways, it's like, we got to do it. But that's a lot of things in the black community. I'm not just going to shoot at the women because a lot of stuff we got to fix as a whole. But speaking of the black women and man thing, it's like, okay, we all from the struggle. So it's like, if that black woman is excelling, as black men, we're not your enemies. Right. We're cheering y'all on. Yo, look at that sister. You know what I'm saying? Yo, she doing that thing. That's whether you with her or just from the outside looking in. That's your sister.
Right.
Yo, she's making moves. The problem comes in now, where it's like you get yours now. And now you start to look down at whether man, female, whoever. We're looking down at the other person. You don't measure up to what I accomplished.
Right.
So now I'm looking down at you. Then it's like in relationships, it becomes almost like a competition. Y'all competing against each other, where it's like you competing in the world. You're competing on social media. You're competing on a job. You're competing everywhere you go. Everybody's out. Is a race to the top. Everybody's in the rat race. When you come home and now you find yourself in a relationship and y'all now are competing. Yes. Where it's like you're trying to one up each other.
Oh, yeah.
And now you wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for me. Vice versa, whether he may have paid for her to go to school. Now she finishes school. She's mad because the whole time I've been in school, you've been telling me I wouldn't be in school if you didn't pay for it.
Right.
Now she's got the degree. I got money now. So it's kind of like almost the mindset, even like rappers. Because a lot of rappers, they say, yo, I grew up with nothing. People used to talk about me. Nobody showed me no love. Nobody opened up. Nobody cared. But now that I'm something, they caught the vapors. Now everybody loves me now. So it's like, it seems like that is the mindset sometimes with some women. It's like they get theirs now. And it's like now they don't know that people they can genuinely be happy for you. They don't want nothing from you. Just happy you're black, I'm black. If we can get that, you're a black person, I'm a black person. I'm happy to see you winning. I'm happy to see you making it. But for some reason, it's like we get up here. And now everybody else is like, nah, you ain't on my level. I don't want to give you a chance. You got to be, we come on our perfect list. And it's like with relationships, how can that work when y'all supposed to be one? Y'all a team. So when you talk about marriage, it's like me and my friends, we have a saying, and I'm going to give it back to you. We have a saying that it's even more because you're talking about a brotherhood, like family. So that's everybody that's involved. Family, your sons, your wife. We all hold this code to this day.
Right.
And it's simple as one hand washes the other.
Yes.
Both hands wash the face. So if that's like, okay, you going through, we better together. That's what that means. We stronger together, stronger in numbers. So if we can do that in our whether it's our cliques we in, whether it's the neighborhood, why when it comes to the relationship and family, we're competing against one another. We're the ops. I'm against you. I don't want you to win. You don't want me to win. And then so when we talk about the independent movement, that becomes the stigma now. When these women saying, if the man ain't making six figures, if the man ain't this and that and the third, where it's like, when you start kicking the black man like you're not worth anything, that's where the line gets gray. Because you have some women that say, yo, I've been through something, you know, I just want somebody to love me. You know, I'm not looking at race. Then you have some women that say all men. You got the, like you said, the bitter barbers, all men. Now I got me a little money. Now I got me a little money. All men. Then you get the independent Eileens that's around, and they don't want no, yo, you don't need them. You don't need them. You don't need them. You don't need a man. So it's like women, and now you hear this on the radio, you hear this on the songs, you hear this on TV. And it's like you said, now the men, we're looking around like, where they do this at? Where do they do this at? So like,
I find it to be an interesting thing, because a lot of women that are on radio, like Angela Yee on the Breakfast Club, I've heard her show Lip Service.
Right.
She's never been there.
No.
You know, you get people that want to have opinions on something that have never even been in the realm to have the opinion about, right? And so I think that's a problem. Like, why do we get advice about certain things from someone who's not qualified to give that advice, right? You know, it's just like me asking, you know, like me and my husband when we talked about this topic, right?
Right.
Because I kind of really wanted to, you know, preach about my children. You know, I really want them to marry Black women one day. You know, if they choose to get married, that's what I would like for them. And my husband made the statement. He said, you don't get to make that call because you're not a man. Number one, you know, we want that for our children. Yes. Right. He said, but it's the state of what the Black community of women are going to be in when it's time for my son, you know, our sons to grow up and get married.
State of the community when it's time.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got to look at, you know, we have to look at our culture in specific lights. And you really got to see it for what it is. Think about what we promote. Think about what most of us are doing. Think about, you know, when you look at it in that realm, and you can go down this list and you can start seeing these women. And it's like, okay, is this what my sons are going to have to be offered to? You know, or are my sons going to be that, you know, that them ones, you know, if they become successful, God bless them. If they make six figures, if they don't, that's fine. But if they're making six figures, you know, what, you know what I'm saying? I have to think about, well, what's gonna be in store for them if they become those type of men, right?
Right.
So I just really think that it is important for women as women to really identify what is important. And, you know, the more money you make, the more you do things for show.
Wow.
You know, and I always say, you know, Warren Buffett, you know, yeah, he's a billionaire. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought. He bought that house for $34,000. He's still living in that.
Right.
He said, "Buy made that for what?" He said, "Why would I buy them? Why would I buy any of these super expensive cars for what? It's a waste of money." See, we get money, and our ideology around money, unfortunately, because we've been behind the power curve for so long, is different than it is for those of the status of wealthy white people. Right. And I'm not talking about your mediocre wealthy white people. I'm talking about like your super wealthy white people, like your Bill Gates and you know, your Warren Buffetts. I'm talking about those type of wealthy white people. Like, yeah, and Bill Gates may live in a nice house, and he may drive really nice cars, and he may have helicopters and planes or whatever. But when you see him, he ain't wearing chains all around his neck.
He ain't gonna be wearing a wife in a few weeks.
He ain't even, him and his wife, they wear simple wedding bands. And now they're going through a divorce, of course, but wearing simple wedding bands. Now, I don't agree with everything he stands for, but my point is just to kind of signify when it comes to wealth, look at how we culturally handle things very differently. Right. We do it for show. For sure. See me, see me, see me, see me. Right. So if you're in the independent movement, right, as a woman,
Look
You
at
got
me.
all the other independent women that you're surrounded by to make six figures. The man that you're with has to be able to come up and show out, right? Because
Right.
all your friends, you want to be able to kind of show him off to them, and then you don't really want their negative feedback about your relationship. But it's kind of like you created a prison for yourself.
Right.
But for us to be as educated as we are, sometimes when it comes down to the really simple stuff, we can be really stupid.
Right. We
You
created this
know?
big facade that now we got to keep up. We then became a circus.
Right.
Became a circus act. Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, the reality of it is we all, I don't care who you are, every last one of us wants to be with someone because we're designed that way. God designed women to be a help, to support and encourage, love and nurture, to give the things that a man naturally does not possess the same way that we do. And that's why households balance and thrive the way they do, because of the differences that a man and a woman actually play. But when they come together, it's the balance and the harmony that they bring when we're both, healthy.
Right. Healthy. When you coming together healthy, doing it the right way.
So independent Eileen, you hurting yourself, and you're gonna breed, and it's interesting because they recently did, and I can't think of the YouTube channel that did the interview, but they had a panel of 6 successful Black women. Right. It was about like 2 months ago when I saw this movie. 3 of them were like judges, a couple of them were attorneys. I think one of them was a doctor.
Wow.
And I mean, they're making good money. Right. But you hear them talk about what they want in a man. You're not being realistic.
Right.
You're not being realistic. And again, the numbers are there.
Right.
It is 9 women to 1 Black male. You got to do the numbers with that. Right. So if you come in with all these unrealistic standards and expectations that are not realistic, you're going to make all this money, but you're going to be extremely miserable. And that's exactly what these women are, is they're very successful, but they're very lonely and they're very miserable.
Right.
So money does not solve the issue.
Yeah, that's real right there. Even the toys don't solve the issue.
No. Right. So, women have got to work past that. You've got to learn to find a balance. And I think for women that are super independent, yeah, you could go and talk to somebody about it. But I think it's really, channeling your inner feminist, your femininity, and just really identifying like the things that you want. Think about what a man wants too.
Right.
You can't just solely think about yourself, because relationships are selfless. So if it's always about you and what you want and what you need, how does the relationship ever really thrive?
Right. Right. That's a real thing right there. Like you said, it's being selfless, and it's not always about what we want. So let me ask you, okay, in those situations where you got the independent Eileens and stuff like that, I don't need a man for nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think they're overcompensating? Where is it like a past trauma or something that made them feel this way, where a man is never gonna rule over me? Is it like you think they went through a situation where it's just natural? I got money now. Money shows the real you. That's just who they always were. Or could it be from a traumatic experience?
I definitely think that it could be a traumatic experience, but I don't think it necessarily has to happen to them per se. I think it is, families passing down traumatic experiences, or right. Maybe witnessing, a single mother, maybe being raised by a single mother who maybe found herself in not a bad relationships.
Right.
Or being poverty. Poverty is definitely something that drives us above and beyond. Right. Nobody wants to be poverty. But then I always say there's, the access to excess, that's a whole nother ball game within itself. But I think that, sometimes You know, there are driving factors, but I also think that there are women that have lived vicariously through their children, you know, because maybe they didn't have the relationship that they wanted, or they didn't get to pursue the dreams the way that they wanted, right?
Right.
So now here they are, they're a single mother, and maybe they're putting this into their kids' heads. I mean, how we talked about it, how many mothers or fathers push their children to play sports?
Right, because they
You're
want
gonna play. You're gonna play. You're gonna play. Like,
right.
is it for them or is it for you? And I've heard some athletes say, you know, if it wasn't for sports, I might have ended up dead.
Wow.
But what if they don't want to play sports? What if they want to be a writer? Or what if they want to be a doctor? Or what if they want to be an attorney or a teacher?
Right.
Like, we have to be careful, because when life doesn't deal us the hands that we want or we think that we deserve,
Right.
sometimes we have a tendency to want to push that onto our children.
Right.
You're going to do this and you're going to be great at it, right?
And put the pressure on them. And
I like to tell my children, I will make sure that you have the opportunities. But now what you choose to do when you're old enough to make those decisions is on you.
Right.
Because you have to live your own life. I can't live it for you. And the one thing about adulthood is once you enter it, ain't no turning around, ain't no going back.
And no going back. You can't be a kid.
Adulting is hard. It comes with a lot of stuff.
Right.
You know,
Can't go back.
Adulting is hard. It comes with a lot of stuff. You got to be able to manage your emotions. You got to be able to process. You got to be able to grow. You got to be able to, grow in multiple areas. You know what I'm saying? Right. You got to be able to listen. You got to be able to participate. You got to, there's a lot of things that you are responsible for as you create certain things in your life.
Right.
And I think it is not fair for us as parents to put our roles, as far as somebody did something to us, let me tell you so that you don't have to go through this. And it's like, right. There's a difference between self-educating, right? Of educating someone versus harping on them that this is the way that it should be.
Right. Now you take the choice from them.
Right. And I think we see that a lot of times with some of our independent women who have been raised by women.
Right.
There hasn't been that balance. We've talked about the father role. I'm not here to say that, all men are great and all men are gracious either.
No.
There's a flip side to everything. You know what I'm saying? But in this particular lesson, we are talking about, women.
Right.
Because there are good men out there.
Right.
But you'll hear women say, oh, well, he's too nice. Well, what does that mean? Like, stupid that ain't gonna get you where you need to go, especially if you want to be in a relationship. But I don't want my children to be pressured or influenced that are not going to set them up for success. And I'm not going to go out my way to traumatize them about relationships and things like that, so that when they get into the world, they already have this misunderstanding of women and how to interact with them.
Right. And you just said a thing right there, a powerful thing a little bit back. You was talking about how the adults trying to live vicariously through the kids. So it's the same thing. So now if the mom is an independent Eileen, now she's telling the daughter, daughter falls in love. It's the love of her life. Mm-hmm. He's not good enough for you. What is his family like? They're not good enough. So now you got to deal with the pressure of that. This is the person you love, but the family don't accept him. So now you're caught in a limbo, or he meets the family. Family, they're looking at him a certain way. He don't get along with the family. The family don't like him. Now they telling her, you have to choose. Over my dead body will you marry him. Right. Now she's sitting there. So it's like, now she's not with the man. So now she's bitter now. She loves him, but he'll never live up to what the family standard is.
Right.
So it's almost like the same thing. Like you said, passing down your opinions and your things. So it's like, who are we as parents to say, this is what you should be with? Or if they're not this, you can't be. We can't even do that for ourselves. As a grown man, I can't pick this is the one God gave
I
me,
think a
and
lot
this
of
is
times, I think a lot of times it comes to stuff like that. I think it has a lot to do with money.
right.
You know, especially if you have a daughter that comes from money, they definitely want somebody else than to marry someone that has money,
Right.
because money to money, it's not really about the money. You know what I'm saying? They think it's going to be less about the money because they both come from money, but that's not
Right.
always true. And just because somebody doesn't have as much as you have doesn't mean that they're in it for the money. So I think it's really about seeing somebody's character and not making the assumption, because a lot of people come from nothing and they have built themselves up wonderful positions. They may not make
Right.
six figures, but they may make a great amount of money that's decent for them to live the lifestyle that they need to live, and they're comfortable with that.
Right.
So it's really about character.
Character.
But I do agree with what you're saying. I think in a lot of those situations, you know, you see that. But I think when it comes to the independent woman, predominantly Black women, I think it's about status. It has a lot to do with status.
Right. So even with the, now that I think about it, even the guys, sometimes their mom, she's not good enough for my son.
Mm-mm.
She'll never marry him over my dead body where they walk across
Yep.
that aisle. What is that? Yeah. Where do we get? What is that?
I think sometimes we have a picture image of what we think is
Right.
good enough for our children. And I think that we, as all parents, will probably say, you always gonna fall short below the bar because that's my baby. You know what I'm saying? You always gonna fall a little bit beneath the bar because that's my baby. But I think that if we have to learn to trust our children.
Right. Wow.
I can see if it's a bad situation, like if it's a really bad situation and you're aware that it's a really bad situation, then I would definitely say, okay, we as parents, we're going to step in because we want to protect our children. Now, they're going to do what they want to do. And if they choose to go with that option, and there ain't nothing that you can do but let that play out the way it's going to play out. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of times there are people that have married people that have had successful relationships and marriages that their parents just didn't like because of socioeconomic, so basically your financial status,
Right.
or your family isn't as educated, or this is where you come from, you didn't go to the best schools. I think we get tedious about certain things that we probably shouldn't get as tedious about.
Right. Okay, so we're
not
real
looking
now.
at how somebody's treating you. We're not looking at, hey, are they supportive? Are they nourished? Are they nurturing? Are they uplifting? Are they encouraging? You know, are they, supportive emotionally, mentally, spiritually? You know, what you're not asking the questions that matter the most, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you something. If you truly love somebody and you with them, you're gonna be with them whether it's good, whether it's bad. Whether you up financially or you down financially, you are going to rock with each other. Right. Because it's more, relationships are deeper than finances. Relationships are deeper than education. Education is something that you can get. You don't have to go to college to get educated.
Right.
Education comes from books. You go to college, yeah, they give you some books. They give you some books in a specific area. You read those books. They test you on those books. You say, okay, I got it. I go out here and I do this field.
Right.
But education is not going to be the same for everybody.
Nah, that's a fact right there.
So I think it's just miss really understanding and really being able to see each other and really to judge each other based on character, and less about what your backstory is. Right. You know, those conversations come up. Like I said, there may be some deal breakers for some people. Some people may not be able to deal with certain things in somebody's background. There's nothing that you can do about that. Right. But if you're judging somebody based off of, the fact that they make $50,000 a year, and that's a problem.
Right. They could be making 50,000, 5 million tomorrow. Right.
You're not willing to let nobody grow. And in those kind of relationships, independent Eileen is not willing to be a supporter of her husband or her spouse. or in a relationship. She's not willing to support and help him to fulfill his dreams and to build him the same way that you want him to do you. This is not about a team sport. This is not about a team effort. It's about, I need you to come in already equipped. How many people who are married have been married, usually start off somewhere, they might got a little something, but they're going to accumulate more as they grow. Because they're doing it together.
You got to build it up.
You got to build it up. You got to be able to come in and build something. Even if they do make 6 figures, they still got to come in and build with you.
They still got to build with you. I wish I could hit that part from the 5 heartbeats right there. You got to build it up.
That's my movie right there. That's my movie right there.
People don't want to build no more. People don't want to put in the work. As soon as it starts getting hard, I'm done. People
want the overnight relationship. Right. They want the time, the energy, and the benefit that a 10, 15, 20-year relationship gives you, but you want it right now. Right. It ain't going to work like that. You're going to have to go through it. You got to go through it.
You got to go through it. You got to go through it. That's the thing right there. And people, like you said, we live in a microwave society. Back in the day, they used to court. They used to ask questions. They said, yo, what do you want to do? How far are you trying to go? You want to get married? All right, I want to get married. 50 years later, they made a decision. I want to get married. You want to get married. And they stuck to it. Right. Nowadays, I like your pictures. You look good. Do you want to get married? I'll fly you out. You never met the person. You already want to get married. You don't know how this person's personality is. You don't know nothing about this person. I like your pictures, though. It's just something about the way you look in that light with that filter. I got to have it.
See, when people rush things, they rushing because they don't want you to see something. And that's a red flag. Don't rush me into nothing, baby.
Hurry up and buy. Hurry up and buy.
No. You rushing me for something. You think you gonna catch me, and then I'm gonna see it after the fact. You gonna be like, "Oop, we already married." No, we're not doing that around here, Shadi. So, what? Don't let nobody rush you. Right. The mask is eventually going to come off. Like I said, we all wear these nice little masks for the first couple of months. We won't be on best behavior because we want somebody to like you. Cool. Once the mask come off and you start getting into the heart of some stuff, great. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? People say the first year of marriage was blissful for a lot of people. Right. I've heard some people say the first year of marriage was the hardest thing they ever went through because it's the actual recognition of you. We're together. Like we did this. Like we're together. Like you can't just walk away. Like we're in this. You know what I'm saying? And you're merging all of those things into one. Now, anybody heard me by nothing?
Man. Yo, that's how it be though, for real. It's like you said, they don't take time to get to know each other. They jump into it. But let me ask you on the flip side, a lot of women, it happens. 8 years later, no ring. And he said, give me some time. Stop rushing me. What's a good time? 8 years later, you're rushing me. Why are you on my back about this marriage thing?
Let me tell you something about that, because that right there, boy, blows my mind. You hear me? I just don't understand. Childish. I'm a firm believer you can't rush nobody to do that. Okay? Right. But here's the thing. When we talk about standards are healthy. They are very, very healthy, and they are required to be in relationships. They're required to be in dating. They are required. If you ain't got none, you better go look it up. Do what standards are. They're gonna tell you, and get you some. And I know we talked about it in a couple of our last, maybe 2 podcasts prior. Right. But here's the thing. You've been with somebody for 8 years and they ain't married you. It's because y'all ain't had the conversation.
The conversation?
This is the thing. Casual conversation is cool, right? Right. But when you're dating somebody, you're going out on dates, the opportunity of that is to get to know one another. It is to ask those questions, right? It is to feel out if you guys have some of the same goals in mind. Are you looking to do some of the same things? What does it say?
It said after 8 years, you don't know if they're the one or not. You may
No.
not know. You still not sure about them. They suspect.
Look, Rob, I'm gonna have to have a sidebar with Rob. I can't even look. Here's the thing: if you're going out on dates and you're doing it right, you're dating the right way. This is the thing: dating means going out and being in different environments.
Right.
We talked about that. Dating in different environments is nostalgic. It gets you to feel more comfortable about having certain topics of conversation.
Right.
Stop being casual with your stuff. Okay.
Right.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty, because again, time don't wait for no one.
Right.
I'm not saying you rushing, but I'm not saying we here to play games either.
Right.
So I should be able to ask you questions.
Right.
What are your thoughts on marriage? What are your thoughts on children? What are your thoughts about, if I wanted to do this for a living, I wanted to do a career change. What are your thoughts about moving out of state? What are your thoughts on travel? What are your thoughts about retirement and, your finances? You ain't got to tell me what you got, but I'm just kind of curious, what is your idea around that? Like, if you ain't asking those kind of questions, now you done got yourself into a relationship with someone based off of all these other superficial things. Right. Because if you were really having a real heart-to-heart conversations and y'all were really getting in deep somewhere, you would know within 3 to 6 months whether or not you want to see that person. Like in a long-term situation. Right. They say men know by 6 months whether or not they can see themselves spending the rest of their life with you. And I believe that because men think differently than women.
Y'all ain't gonna rush us. Not 6 months early either. 6 months is what we need to figure out if that's what we want to do. Not a day before 6 months.
Marry you in 6 months, but I think in 6 months they have an idea.
Nah, I'm teasing
you. You know what I'm saying? That you were really like, okay, this is really worth really putting some energy into.
Nah, that's real. And the thing is with that, like we're talking, you saying asking real questions. The thing that baffles my mind, and I'm joking, but I'm serious. It's like what I don't understand. Right? We can get with people. Right. We can show them the freaky side. We can get nasty with them. But we won't. Don't ask me about my background. Don't ask me if I ever broke in somebody's house. I could get nasty, but don't ask me my business.
Right.
What is that? What is that? How do people do that? It's like, we done did everything under the sun. Mm-hmm. Now it's time to have some real conversations. So what's your thoughts on this? And now they act like they don't know you. We just been asleep for 3 days straight.
That's because you got to think about it. Men are visual creatures by nature anyway. Y'all are visual. Y'all are very visual. I think men are a little bit more visual than women are. I'm not saying that women are visual, but I know that for men that is an importance for y'all in something serious.
Right.
I think that people who don't have substance to offer one another as they're trying to build to kind of learn each other to see if this is what they want to do. Right. The lack of substance and being able to have intellectual conversation becomes easier to allow themselves to sleep with each other. Also, low self-esteem, feeling like if we have sex, it's gonna lock somebody in. There's a lot of things as to why people, have sex right away. So a lot of people don't have self-control these days. They don't know how to control their energy towards someone. Right. So my thing is, if you're willing to just sleep with somebody like it's all willy-nilly, you're also not thinking as a woman how that perceives to the man. But that's actually one of my steps. So I don't go too deep into it because I want to be able to talk about that.
All right. So all right. Well, let me ask you, when we get to that part, okay, I'm gonna leave it alone because I already know I'm gonna get a bunch of hate mail. No, the women already be bashing me.
I want you to bring it. I want you to bring it up. I want you to bring it back up.
Right.
I just want you to let me get there. Okay. Right. So my fourth one is we didn't go over number 3. So number 3, if my stuff wants to work today.
So we got the bitter Barbara, and we got the independent Eileen, bitter Barbara, and this is the third one for people taking notes at home. All right.
Okay. I'm trying to get it to reset because it just kind of froze right up on me. Okay. So our third one is religious Rhonda. Okay.
Oh my God.
So religious Rhonda is religious, but she actually lacks true spirituality. Okay. She's looking for Jesus incarnate. And if Jesus were to knock on her door,
she wouldn't even know.
He would not measure up to her standards either. Right? So religious Rhonda is looking for a man who doesn't exist. She sits around. She likes to complain to her girlfriends, who are birds of a feather that flock together, by the way, that there are no available good Black men because they're either in jail, they're in prison, homosexual, or don't want anything out of life. Right. Religious Rhonda wants a man to put forth all the effort and energy to make the relationship work and bring all of his valuable attributes to the table, but is unable to bring a similar or equal value of those attributes back to the relationship. Wow. Religious Rhonda wants the status, but fails to have the substance. But fails to see the substance. Religious Rhonda is related to self-righteous Sally. As a matter of fact, they are first cousins. So when you see them, they're usually bosom buddies, and they're either hating on other women who have a man, wondering how they got him, or they're a constant third wheel, and a couple who's married relationship if they go out. But I know a couple of religious Rhondas, and it is a true statement. Those are the people. That's the people I told you to say he got to be 6'3". He gotta weigh 220, lean muscle mass. He gotta make 6 figures. He gotta have facial hair. He gotta have 0 kids. He gotta do this for a living. That's religious Rhonda.
She said God told her to be specific with her prayers. No. She's specific with her prayers.
No. Specific means have some good standards. Right. God didn't say you create your body, build a man, and I'm gonna send them to you. You ain't building a
man. Right. She probably pronounces it Pacific. God said be Pacific with my prayers. Pacific, not specific. Pacific.
Let me tell you something. If God is letting women build men and He gonna ship them in the mail, I'm gonna tell you what, a whole lot of men gonna be building them some women too, honey.
That's right. That's right.
So we out here I was gonna say we out here building ninjas now. We out here building ninjas. You building ninjas.
Wow. And that's what we had a guest up here say they renting. I ain't gonna say what she called them. She said they out here renting them. They get a little rap money and start.
I like to call religious Rhonda. She reminds me of the hypocrite. She's the person that goes to church and judges everybody in the church, but herself is out here doing the same thing that everybody else do. Wow. You know what I'm saying? But she likes to do it undercover. You want to judge everybody, but you don't want to be judged. You like they said, you want the good Black man, but you have no substance of nothing else to offer him. Right. And they're really like that. These are the women. And you can even dumb it down to even saying they don't have to be necessarily religious in that context, because you see women like that today on social media. Wow. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want in a man. But you have absolutely nothing yourself to offer. Not nothing. Except for a pretty face and a body that's eventually going to get old at some point. I'm not saying because we're not going to say spring chickens forever.
Right. That's the thing. And it's like, that's the thing that I always ask people, that they got to look this way. They got to be that. They got to do this. Things happen. Accidents happen. People can get in a car wreck.
I was fooling around on one of the TikTok filters. And I said, it says, we'll see what you look like when you get older. And I was like, let me just see what it was going to look like. Boy, I did have many little wrinkles all up in here, and I'm getting older, and I can tell that I look older than I did when I was, X amount of time. Right. So, but getting older is a part of life. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep up with yourself. Try to, as you get older, yes, fitness is still important. Taking care of yourself is still important. And we encourage those things. Right. But it can't be the sole factor. Right. in a relationship. And I think sometimes people get that confused when you see six-figure men marry, really young girls or whatever. They
Right.
don't always show you that these really young girls may really have something else going on.
No, that's a fact right there.
You don't see whether she's nurturing, she's submissive, she's willing to validate and support his dreams. You
Or
don't
he's
see
molding her. He's molding
right,
her into what he wants him to be. What he
right,
wants her to be.
right. Willing to say, look, this is what I would like for you, and she's more apt to do that. And if you think about it, back then when people did get married, people got married in their early 20s, sometimes in their late teens. My grandmother married my grandfather when she was 17. My mother's mother did,
Right.
And they were together for a long time. So 8 children later, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we have to think about certain things and the differences, not saying that it's a hindrance if you don't get married at that point, but you got to think about if you're trying to get married in your late 30s to 40s, you have a different structure of mindset that you wouldn't have if you were younger and being more open to maybe more compromise.
Right. And that's the thing, is like you're saying, it's like we got to have something stable, stability. I'm gonna give you 2 examples real quick, and it's like this shows like, when you're looking at material things and subsurface stuff, life gets real. I was once working with this lady. She was married. Her and her husband, they were married probably about 30 years at the time. Okay. It's like, she's a pretty looking woman. One day she's coming home, an accident in the rain. Car hits her from the side. The windshield busts from the side, cuts her face up. Okay. So now she has like a whole bunch of cuts on her face, but it's like somebody sliced her, but it's where when the accident happened, the glass shattered and it cut her face up. So she looks nothing like she looked before. Right. So it's like, she went through a depression and stuff like that. But it's like, it makes you think, like, if I'm with somebody and something like that happened, that's going to show how much you love this person. Then another example was a guy, and him and his wife, they had been married maybe 15 years. Freak accident. He's in the shower, gets out, steps on the slip mat, loses his footing, breaks his neck. Right now, maybe he may get his activity back, but as of now, nothing. Was fine. Taking a shower, the floor wet. He goes to plant his foot, and it slipped. Whoop. Next thing you know, block up that quick. And that quick of you can't do nothing. No. So now if that's like, if this was my lady, now that means I got to wash her up. I got to change her. I got to do that for the rest of her life. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people, when it's subsurface or material, what you can do, you already know. If something goes down, they out of here. It's kind of like, and I'm gonna give it back to you, bounce the ball back to you, but that's even like the streets. You getting the money, you getting the girls, they all around. Soon as you get locked up, she's on to the next one. All right. You come out now. You first come home now. Oh, you out now. You done been with the whole city. He gets back on his feet now. Here she comes. So it's almost like you rent into the highest bidder. So it's like in situations like that, it shows you, like, when I'm down, you ain't around. That's man or woman. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when I'm down, you're not around, or every time I come up, you pulling me down. It's like when we talk about love and the rest of our lives, unconditional, a person can wake up with a sickness. They may get diabetes. They may have liver failure, kidney, whatever you think of is happening. Yeah. Somebody has to deal with it. So if you say, I love this person. When the sex was good, when they was fly, when everything was on the up and up. I love this person. Now, this person can't wash themselves. They can't change themselves. This person may have a disfiguration. What now? So it's like in those points. So if you don't have a real love for that person, or like an unconditional love, you'll never make it. Storms of life come. You ready to throw your hands up. You'll never make it. And I think a lot of people now with that microwave, they don't have those bonds, so they don't have a solid foundation because they're not asking the questions. They're not dating. They're not. So they just build a house up, no foundation. So as soon as the first wind blow, the relationship is over. Now I got to start all over, jump into another relationship. Never dealt with what was going on.
Right.
And continue to make the same mistakes. And that's male and female.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but when we talk about love, that's a big word. When we say to death do us part. And it's like, even dating, people say, well, I ain't married yet. But if you're dating somebody and it's like, and y'all serious, it should be dating to get married. So it's like, it's already an effect. So it's like, if we together,
I once learned, and this is just, I think I told the story on podcast too, but I'm just going to say it again. I'll never forget it. I was 12 years old, and I don't know who the lady sermon, who she was. I just remember it was on TV, and it was a black lady.
Right.
And she was talking about, she kept praying that, she was going through some things. She was going through some things. She was homeless. She was talking about just a really bad story. She was like, I didn't have money for pads. She would have to go through drive-thrus and get, napkins and use those. And just a really sad story. But she said that one day she just had really started to pray, to God, like, well, why I ain't married? Why I ain't got no husband? Why you won't let me, why won't I get nobody? And she said, God told her, how I'm going to send you a husband when you've been married? You married now. She said he ended up revealing to her, why God says that we shouldn't have sex before marriage. Because not only does it soul tie us, okay, but what it does is sex is consummating the marriage.
Right.
So once you've engaged in that, and you've taken on all these soul ties from that person and whoever else they was with, right? Because your blood time, semen is still blood. So your blood time, right? You're willing to transfer, all this energy and this consummation. But if you, you know what I'm saying? If you're willing to signify, to consummate like you would a marriage, right, but your heart's not there, why would you do it?
Why would you do it?
Sex is something that you shouldn't really play with, but you can't really tell folks that nowadays because we're in a society where it's just like everything goes. But sex is such a big thing.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel shattered, especially women. And I empathize with women who feel shattered because they felt like, they give themselves and then, it doesn't, nothing comes of that. Right. And it's like, well, you got to have value about yourself. You got to have a standard for yourself. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you got to wait till you get married to have sex. Because you hear some people say, I want to ride the ride before I buy the ride. Okay. But here's the reality of it. If everybody waited, right? If everybody was a virgin,
right?
I just want you to think about this. If everybody was a virgin when they got married,
right,
their sex life would be amazing because neither one of them have any experience. They're able to explore and learn and grow together. They're able to feel more comfortable about having conversations about sex.
Right.
Because they're completely exposed and vulnerable with each other. People who've already had sex have different expectations about sex. When somebody doesn't perform or live up to that standard,
all right, get them out of here. Bring in the real crew. What is this?
Right. I don't. You're not comfortable. You don't want to talk about it. So I think that it's a real thing. But you see people who believe it or not, the success rate, and this is a study, you can go look, people who waited till they were married to have sex,
right,
both parties,
right,
their relationships are much healthier and happier long term than those who had premarital sex with multiple partners before they ever got there.
Wow, that's real right there, because like you said, all they know is each other. So it's like we're learning together.
You have the most vulnerable part with one person. That one person knows you on a level that nobody else will ever know you. But we skip that step. A lot of us skip that step.
That step.
I skip that step. But I've had that conversation with my husband. If I could go, like if God would let me do one thing over, one thing, that would be the one thing that I would have waited to do, because I understand what it does to people mentally and emotionally, and how it sets up faults. It makes you be real. It makes your heart real deceptive. You know, your heart will lead you in a place behind something like that ain't nothing what you thought it was gonna be.
Right.
And you can't base no relationships off of sex.
Right.
You ain't gonna get nowhere. And that actually pulls me into, and I'll kind of skip it and bring the last, I'll go last and then bring the next one up. But that's what we would call loose Lucy.
Oh my God.
Every man knows that loose Lucy gives up the coochie. That's how she signed it. Every man knows that loose Lucy gives up the coochie. It doesn't matter whether he's worthy or not. Loose Lucy believes the only way to get or keep a man is to open her legs. Wow. She has an attitude that once she gives a man sexual advances, he is obligated to her. Mm-hmm. Loose Lucy does not respect herself and suffers from low self-esteem. Right. Some loose Lucy's will get pregnant in an attempt to entrap a man, believing it will make him stay. Loose Lucy will sleep with friends, brothers, and maybe even fathers or sons or cousins. Loose Lucy is desperate for a man, and when she feels one, will take the time to wine and dine or pay her mind. She will bear it all for him, believing that this time he's the one. There are two types of women that men deal with. One they like to have fun with, and the one that they can bring home to meet their parents. Right. Loose Lucy is the booty call and not the altar call. Okay? Wow. And this might sound crass, but there is a reason why some Black women do not have a man. And to the women who would much rather publicly degrade all or most of our brothers for their actual perceived shortcomings and deem them damaged beyond repair, you end up staying in a state of involuntary singleness or in relationships that are unfulfilling because you are denying the fact that you are actually part of the problem.
Yeah, you want to drop a bomb right there. That's real, right? You just said a mouthful on that one.
Yeah. We have to be willing to understand where we fall short at, right? So right. Your loose Lucy's, there is some trauma there. A lot of times there is some trauma.
I'm laughing about that.
For you to feel that your worth is between your legs, for a man to be able to smile in your face, take you out to dinner a couple times, show you a good time, and you feel like you have no substance back, but the only substance that you have is between your legs is a problem.
Right. And that's the thing. That's the thing. I'm laughing, but as you were saying that's what was going through my mind is like, you got to think about the trauma that puts a person in that situation where they become a loose Lucy. But then it's like, as a man, looking back on my life, as we talk, it's like the men, we're wrong because the loose Lucy is loose Lucy, but sometimes she gets taken advantage of. It's like the man knows he don't want nothing with her, but just that moment. So it's like, yo, let's go out to eat, baby. You know, and now you telling her all these things she want to hear. Oh, yeah. Loose Lucy is just melting like a piece of butter. But you knew then. Mm-hmm. So it's like almost like you're adding to her trauma. Because it's like she don't know who she is. And I think that's just with maturity. When I was younger, I used to look for that. Yo, that's a good thing. I like that. What's your type? Insecurity, women. Yeah. But it's like as a grown man, it's like, yo, no, because it's like I understand that. If you take advantage of her, or if you're not honest, and there's a difference if she says, so what's up with you? And you say, I ain't looking for no relationship. I'm just kicking it. Right. And she said, well, let's kick it. And then she busted out with this skate, let's kick it. All right, kick off my shoes, relax my feet. You know what I'm saying? So we're having a good time, but it's like it's a difference when you're kicking her the game and you're telling her all this extra stuff to get. It's like now it's like you're taking advantage. And it's like as we get older, it's like you learn the difference. But so it's like with Lucy, like you said, loose Lucy, even though it's like she gets the name, she gets the title now. Mm-hmm. Lucy just wanted to be loved. She might have, whatever, low esteem, insecurities, or whatever. But now the stigma's on her. Right. She was going through a trauma. Right.
And not, but see, Loose Lucy. See, this is the thing with Loose Lucy. Loose Lucy does have trauma. Loose Lucy's probably been with a lot of men. Okay. Loose Lucy is going to take some time because she has to find her own identity.
Right. You
See,
got all these
I like to call my
personalities.
You got them ones though. You got them ones. See, Loose Lucy, she might find the one. She might find the one. She'll find her a sucker. She'll find the one. You know what I'm saying? It's not really versatile or has not had maybe as much experience as she had in certain areas. Loose Lucy may get a one. But this is the thing with Loose Lucy. If she don't get it together, it really worked through her issues, the likelihood of her being alone long term is very high. And I'm a firm believer too. You can try to entrap people or coach people, you can come up over somebody, but eventually, what's done is always gonna come to the light. Like I said, you can't hide yourself up for so long. You can't fool wolf for so long. You can masquerade yourself as anything, but eventually it does reveal itself. But Loose Lucy's are people that we as women, we need to be okay with saying, hey, you need to get your shit together. Like, that's not hot. Like, that's not hot. I can guarantee you that every woman that's probably watching knows somebody, family member, a friend, somebody that's like that. And we have to be able to police our women up and be like, you know what, you need to get it together. If they don't want to get it together, you just need to kind of like separate yourself from that. It's not that we don't want to empower the culture or love the culture, but once you give tools and you give jewels and you give the information, if somebody's not willing to bestow or try to grow from that point on out, then you got to simply learn to walk away from it, because it doesn't do there's no benefit. You know what I'm saying? And you constantly having to say the same thing over and over and over again to somebody who doesn't want to, help themselves. Because they got to be able to see their own reality. And that's why I like that part where she was like, women have to acknowledge that they're part of the problem. Right. Because if they don't, you're living in a denial that says that what your behavior is it's okay, and it's not.
It's not. And that's the thing right there. And it's like a rehabilitated Loose Lucy. Now, one that's like, I used to be a little wild. You slow it down. Like you might have got a free lunch last year. No more. Now you get those type of women, right? Yeah. Now they know they got a pass now. They changed. So they it's just like, rehabilitated. You're back home, you get a second chance. So it's like, now you out there. Some of the women that I know, friends wise, they become some of the loyalist women because they don't want to revert back. They don't want ever want somebody to look at me like, oh yeah, I can't trust you. So it's like you said, it's like with the rehabilitation, they can get it together because they learn from it, but they're gonna have to go through the process of disconnecting and stuff like that. Because like you said, it's like every person you have sex with plus every person they had sex with. Can you imagine, right? Because everybody gets married before God, right? So we go before God, right? And all right, boom, you're doing your vows. And in the spiritual realm, it's everybody you've been with, everybody she been in, standing before God, and he's looking like, what type of kickback? Spiritually, what's going on? What in the world? Just think about that. If you bringing everybody you slept with, plus everybody they slept with, the other person is bringing everybody they slept with. If we from you can sleep with one person that slept with 100 people. You over the max. So it's like now, you know what I'm saying? So it's like in God's eye, God sees all. And we up there on our wedding day. Just filthy.
And people don't necessarily, Now it's a big thing. I know RC Blake's, on YouTube. He's a pastor. He's a relationship pastor. He does a wonderful job. He talks a lot about soul ties,
Right.
and you really got to, that's a spiritual thing. There is a
Definitely.
spiritual thing.
Right.
And if you ain't spiritual, I would advise you to, really, look, try Jesus. Just try Jesus.
Right.
Just give him a try. I'm telling you,
Right.
there's some chains to be broken in some areas. Some blinders need to come off, and some wisdom need to come in. And for us to really understand what we're dealing with. And for the soul tying, you can get those things up off of you, but it's a process. It's a process, just like anything else. But people can be rehabilitated. But that's the thing when it comes to the loose loosies. These are my Instagrammers that like to get naked. These are my Facebookers that like to show their body parts.
Yeah.
These are the look at me's and this is what I got to offer. Type of girls, and they get ran through, and they think that by looks and sex is going to hook somebody, and it's not. You have to be aware. You have to be aware of what you're dealing with, right? And what game you're playing. And I'm gonna give women some game here in just 1 second. I'm gonna do the last one, which is Demanding Dina. I think I might have fell into this category a little bit because Demanding Dina is so hard to please. No matter what you do for her, she is never satisfied. Wow. Demanding Dina does not realize the difference between demanding something with her mouth and commanding it with her action. She has an attitude that she is owed something, and everything must cease until her needs are met. Demanding Dina is very needy and believes that the source of her happiness lies in the hands of a man in her life. Her expectations of him are far above what is rational or even fair. There is no room for shortcomings, as anyone she deals with must be on top of his game 100% of the time. Right. Demanding Dina is argumentative, controlling, hard and bossy, and men usually want to do whatever they can to get away from Demanding Dina. Right. And Demanding Dina has not realized that men are not interested in a woman with more testosterone than him. No. I suffered from Demanding Dina because I was in an abusive relationship. So when I came out of my abusive relationship, I had some things that I hadn't quite figured out.
Wow. We got some questions real quick. It says, my fault. It says, is it true those who were abused themselves?
A lot of times, yes. Yes.
And then he says a lot of male Lucy's out there. A lot of Lucy's that's males out there. Lucy Lou. Lucy Lou. There's a lot of Lucy Lou's out there.
And I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that before we end the podcast now. I promise we're gonna get to that.
All right.
But Demanding Dina, because I was abused.
Right.
My husband, my first husband, like I said, wasn't the nicest person in the world. I learned to be defensive in certain areas. Right. So I'm gonna tell a little bit of my business. I was very hard to please, and I was very argumentative, which was also it was a defense mechanism for me. Right. So when me and Cruz got together, there was a little bit of that, and I think it came out maybe a little bit further in our relationship. Oh, what does he say?
Abusers at the beginning wear masks. They definitely hide it at first. Definitely.
They do. Because my first husband was as nice as, boy, you would have thought he was just the best person in the world until the mask came off and we was hook, line, and sinking into that relationship. Right. But I learned that after that, I didn't know. All I knew was that I wanted to feel safe and that I had expectations and that this is what it was supposed to look like and this is what I wasn't going to deal with. And so I came in a little demanding, a little extra.
Right. It says, would you say most of them are narcissists?
Abusers? Is he asking about abusers?
Abusers.
I think a lot of abusers are narcissistic because they're very, very insecure. So the abuse is a way to overcome their insecurities or not let their vulnerabilities or their shortcomings be seen. So I would say that there's probably a level of narcissism there. I think it would just depend on the abuser himself and that, more on an individual case basis to really be able to peer in and see how they kind of how they kind of live their lives.
Thank you. He said he just shared the podcast. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But my husband has caught me sometimes. Like my husband has caught me sometimes and be like, hey, hey, need you to bring it down a little bit. Like,
wow,
you coming with a little bit of masculine energy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I appreciate him for being honest with me about that.
Right.
Because we all have something in our lives that has happened to us that causes us to fall in certain categories. Like we said, these are just the 5 most common, hindering characteristics that people have, that Black women have that keep us from having successful relationships.
Wow.
But it's nice for my husband to be able to police me up from time to time.
No, they don't. And so from his experience, most abusers don't change.
They don't. A lot of times they don't.
It takes a while. If they do, it takes a while as a process.
It is a process, and we're also talking about what kind of an abuser they are. What subject of abuse they were subjected to, how old they are. So there are many factors that kind of play into whether or not the recovery process of someone who's abusive is potential. We do know, like with adult sex offenders, their rehabilitation for change is very low. We know that juvenile sex offenders do have a high success chance of recovery. And that's granted with treatment. But adult sex offenders normally, that's, I don't know. It's a weird thing. We just don't understand why their ability to change is so low. So it's almost non-existent. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the probability of it being so low is almost like it is kind of sort of non-existent.
Wow.
But no, back to the demanding Diana, we got to do better.
Right.
We got to do better in that regard. Because we do come with masculine energy. We do come with masculine energy. We're the type of women that I like to say, if I ask you to do something you don't do it, I do it myself.
You ain't gonna ask twice. One time is it.
That's it. What did he say?
He said it's because they think they do have an issue like a drug addict. No. He said it's because they think they do not have an issue like a drug addict.
A lot of times abusers are aware that the behavior is wrong. They know morally it's not right, but there's usually something else that's attached to why they offend. And like I said, you get it in a case by case basis. Because it depends on the various level of abuse. Like usually with physical abuse, men that are physically abusive, we know that they have usually watched their fathers be physically abusive. So they believe that is how they wrangle in, insubordination in their eyes in a relationship. Abuse does one or two things. People who have witnessed abuse or have been abused either will become abusers or will completely shy away from or repulse that very behavior. So it's only one or two ways that you're going to swing, but everybody that's been abused isn't going to be an abuser, and everybody who has witnessed abuse is not going to be an abuser. But I think when we talk about abuse, it is a case by case thing. I think if it's something that you want to talk more about, what's his name, Norman? Is it Norman?
Yep. Ultimately, it's a choice, and it's all about power and control. It is a learned behavior. We definitely agree with you, Norman.
So if it's something that he wants to talk about, like if you want to talk about abuse or having like a certain type of abuse in specific, definitely let us know. I'll be glad to cover that topic for you. Abuse is such a huge issue and such a big part of our traumas that we talk about. That it does need more light.
Right.
Does need more light. There's so many variations of abuse. You got mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Mental, abuse can go
Right.
down the list in ways that. So definitely, I'm open to having doing a podcast about it if we definitely get some more input on it.
Right. You said a powerful thing real quick. Let me ask you. So what if somebody is suffering from spiritual abuse? What advice would you give them? Spiritual abuse.
Well, I think that we've seen that with slavery. And I'll touch that surface kind of lightly for you.
Right.
People kind of get me upset when they say, "Oh, well, you believe in the white man Jesus, and that was the book that the slave owners gave the slaves, and it was to keep them into control." And
right.
My thing is, I'm a firm believer. If I'm not educated on a topic, I will not speak about it. I can give an opinion and say this is my opinion. But if you want to have facts conversation, you got to do your research.
Right.
Now, my grandmother, I know, my father's mother, was there for the tip of the ending of that transition with slavery. I know it.
Right.
And I know that she's got stories. I've asked her a couple of stories a few times. But I will say this. That Bible that they gave to us, they omitted pages.
Right.
The Word of God is still the Word of God. Now they chose to give us the pages of the Bible that they wanted us to have.
Right.
Because there are scripture in the Bible where it does talk about slavery.
Right.
And if you really want to get into that context, when you talk about religion, you think about Israel. When they didn't do right, God sent an oppressor. Right. They would be oppressed or enslaved for X amount of time. They cry out to God. God would send them a deliverer.
Indoctrination.
Right. So they were only given the portion that they were supposed to be given. Right. And I think people see that a lot in cult behaviors and things like that when you talk about spiritual abuse. Cults are spiritual abuse. They abuse them through and through. They Jim Jones, he had a whole camp, the mass murder of cyanide poisoning. Right. He's not the only one. But it's giving people, see, we all want hope. We all want to believe in something, right?
You got to.
We know, because innately we know that there's something greater than ourselves.
Right.
But sometimes when we're still seeking to find information or learn information, sometimes we may come across something that isn't the correct information. But because it feels right?
Right.
And the person is so charismatic, we don't feel the need to have to dig any deeper. We take that literature that they give us and that doctrine that they give us, and then we want to run with it. But we've got to be in a space where we use our own critical thinking, and that we want to challenge and understand and seek for ourselves. Because God says, seek and you shall find.
Right.
So I'm a firm believer in, you go to churches and people will say this scripture and this scripture and this scripture. Scripture to scripture is cool. But if you've never read the Word of God to the front, to the back, from the front to the back, how do you know
if it's out of context, or what's going on?
How do you know? Because prophecy is being fulfilled. There are things that have happened that have been fulfilled.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer too that the reason that slaves were only given a portion of the Bible was because they know who the Jews, they know who Israel is. Right. They know who God's chosen people is. Jewish is not a religion. Jewish is a religion and not a faith.
Right.
Jewish came from Judaism.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation.
You about to get us banned. You about to get us kicked out and fined.
I'm not going on my way to offend you, but I'm gonna tell you that's a whole other conversation. But I do believe that Deuteronomy 28 specifies it, says it black and white down to the science.
Right.
If Nimrod was the 11th generation grandson of Noah, and I know that Nimrod, even in his wicked ways, was a black man, I know where I come from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't need nobody to tell me that, and I don't need nobody to tell me in the Holy Land that they don't accept black people over there, but they do acknowledge, which I find interesting.
Right.
Sidebar is that Israel does acknowledge the Ethiopian Jews. And
Wow.
I know because I had a supervisor when I first got here who was from Ethiopia.
Right.
And they still practice Old Testament traditions.
Wow.
But Israel, when it became a state in 1948, they will not acknowledge nor can any black person move there. The only black people that they identify with is they say that they're the tribe, I believe it's of Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, and they're Ethiopian, and they
Right.
allow Ethiopian Jews to move over there. But they treat them so badly that a lot of them either commit suicide or they go back. So,
Wow.
but that's a little history context if you want to look it up and do some research on it.
Right.
Self-education, please do. But spiritual warfare is real, and I
Really
believe
right.
that spiritual abuse is there for people to have power that never have had power, that want power, and
Right.
they have a sick motive and agenda and how they want to use that power. And a lot of times it's, molesting children, impregnating 14, 15-year-old girls.
Right.
It's a lot of sick things, but they use the spiritual aspect to oppress for a greater sickness that is attached.
Right. Wow. And that's real right there. We're going to have to do a topic on that, on the spiritual side of it, because that's a big topic right there.
Okay.
So, yeah, we definitely need to bring that one back. It don't have to be the next one, but down the road, we definitely need to touch on the spiritual abuse and the effects of that, because sometimes you trust in these people, believing they're hearing God.
Yeah.
This is your gateway. You just learning. You're new to the faith. You said God said it.
God said, try the spirit. Didn't Jesus say, try
God
the spirit?
said, try the spirit, but they don't give you that. They don't give you that scripture. They say,
we should do that even just when we're with everyday people.
Right.
Out here dating, in relationships. I'm a firm believer that you can't have, this is just me, but you can't have the state of marriage, the union of marriage is a God ordained, God brought man and woman together. Right?
Right.
So if we got to go before God to get married, but we don't have that in our midst of our relationship, how do we expect our relationships to produce fruit? Because here's the thing. We got Bitter Barbara, we got Independent Eileen, we got Religious Rhonda, we got Demanding Dina, and we got Loose Lucy. We got all these different issues.
Right.
But if we don't have God to show us what our role is in a relationship, what did God design women for? Now, I'm not trying to take y'all back to the 50s. I'm not trying to take y'all back to wearing housewives skirts and all of those things, unless that's something you want to do. I'm a firm believer that your marriage and your relationship, you guys come together about your goal and your vision and how you work together as a couple. Right? But if you don't have an idea of who you are as a child of God and the role that He wants you to play within that relationship, how do you have a sustainable relationship if you're going off of it based solely by what you know of the world?
You can't. And that's the thing. You said a powerful thing, having a family identity, an identity for your marriage. So if people, they, like you said, they don't have a foundation, they don't have God, they don't have the Bible, they're looking at Real Housewives of Atlanta, they're watching social media, they're looking at the Kardashians, they're listening to Beyonce songs.
Look,
that's all the advice I need. That's all the help I need, because I'm independent and ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live my life.
I just want to say that even Beyonce wasn't exempt from getting cheated on.
Oh my God!
I'm not saying, but I'm saying infidelity strikes from somewhere in a marriage, a breakdown, a relationship somewhere.
Right.
It is to who of us who have been in relationships where maybe infidelity has transpired That what did he say?
All those examples you listed in women, does a real man want that kind of woman? Will he want to introduce her to his mother? All those examples that you listed in a woman.
Oh yeah.
Does a real man want that kind of woman? And will he introduce her to his mother? Absolutely not.
But when it comes to infidelity in relationships,
right,
there's a reason for that. You know, when I say Beyonce was not exempt from being cheated on, because she was, and we saw how crazy the world got about Jay-Z, you know, cheating on the whole lemonade drop, the whole whatever.
Right.
But whatever their breakdown in their marriage was an opportunity for them to have a growing moment. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that if somebody cheats on you, you got to be out the door tomorrow. That's up to you on whether or not how you view your life, right?
You gotta build it up.
but a lot of people will make mistakes.
Right.
You have to decide whether or not something is worth working out for you. But there's a breakdown somewhere in which that happens.
Right.
And we have to remind ourselves of that. So, like, I just think that if you go into a relationship being genuine, you're dating, you're being genuine, you're being honest with yourself, you're being honest about your shortcomings, where you need to work on, you're going to be better off.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of that, look, we do have brothers that are incarcerated. We do have brothers that are, in jail, prison. Want to make sure I distinguish the two, right? Because jail means less time, prison means a little more time, but it don't mean, nothing. I want to clarify that up.
Right.
And then we got some people that's homosexual right here. Okay, we got a population or a handful of our black men that like to be with other men. Okay. We can't use these excuses to be like, well, there's no good black men out there. Because I'm gonna tell you what. If a brother goes to prison, why did he go to prison?
Right.
We got to be willing. See, we are the first part of our race to be judgmental against each other.
Right.
So somebody did some time, don't make them a bad person.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
No, that's a fact.
What did they go to jail for? Did they go to jail because they sold some drugs because they was trying to feed their family? Did they go to jail because somebody tried to come in their house? You know what I'm saying? Shot somebody. Did he go to jail because he got a DUI? He drove a little intoxicated. Did he go to jail because he got into a fight at a bar trying to defend himself? Whatever. I mean, you got to give somebody the benefit of the doubt sometimes, and understand that when they come out, they need their community to embrace them and their encouragement to change just as much.
Right.
But I get it if there are things, like I said, everybody's got their own deal breakers. What's deal breaker for them is what's a deal breaker for them. Okay.
And that's the thing.
But when it comes to men are rational and they're very analytical. One thing that I've learned about a man is a man can be emotionally attached to you and want to have a relationship with you. But if his mind ain't on board with what he's feeling, it's a no-go. It is a no-go. You can have him all giddy and emotional, but rationally, if it's not on the same page, the wheels ain't gonna click for him.
Wu-Tang for the 2021, Wu-Tang on top of the world.
So I think that's very important for us women to understand.
Right.
So just because he's feeling you and he want to spend time with you, and you willing to let him, you asking questions, maybe he's not giving you answers. So you trying to weigh it out, you just trying to hang on there and see what he gonna do.
Right.
Men aren't like women in that regard. Right. They're not like women in that regard. If it's not the heart and the mind and not on the same page with them, they ain't gonna do it. See, we as women, we're different in that context. Right. Our mind be, sometimes like, child, let it, but we want to go by what we feel.
Right.
We're driven by the impulse of feel.
Right.
So women and men don't operate in the same realm automatically. Man looks at it logically. It's got to make sense. This relationship has to make sense. It's got to have goals. It's got to have a purpose. It's got to fit. It's all got to go together.
Right.
He'll play with you. It feel good, but if this up here don't line up, baby, it ain't gonna happen. So you can keep shaking your shoulda, coulda, woulda all you want to.
Right.
He might play with you, but he ain't gonna give you what you want.
Nah.
But see, women aren't looking at what do men actually want. What do men really want? And I think as a man, for men who are men to be able to answer that question for women, and I think doing some kind of panel for that would be great, because to get like 3 or 4 men, to have a discussion of maybe in different stages in life to see what where they are and what they want at different stages. But I do know that men want peace. Men want peace. They want their home to be a place of peace.
Right. They want loyalty.
And I can speak for that about my own husband.
Right.
This is his place of peace. Kerwin don't play about his place of peace. He don't want to taint it with a whole lot of things, as far as like, we're selective about who we let come to our house. We're just one of those people that want to preserve the energy of the space. Right. So my husband is big on having peace. But my husband is a man's man. Anybody him, anybody who knows him,
right.
He's a man through and through.
Right.
So he wants to be able to have that role and to be able to play that part, because that's his purpose. His purpose is to provide and to protect and to ensure that me and his children, that we're okay and that we're safe.
Right.
He wants to be able to pass down wisdom and knowledge and for us to listen. He wants somebody to pray with him and to encourage him and uplift him and support him and to say, baby, this is what I'm dreaming about. This is what I'm thinking about. Can you help me get there?
Right. That's right.
But if we as women are not ready to handle those roles, to do those things, or you feel like doing that very thing makes you weak, then you're not ready to be in a relationship. Right. It can't be 2 alphas in a relationship. I've seen people together that love each other to death, and they're so toxic for each other.
Right. And
they love each other. They know they're toxic, but they just can't break away from it. It's like, oh my God, I need to go, but I can't do it. But the relationship never produces any fruit. Right. Because unfortunately, we as Black women, we are afraid to submit. Black women are very afraid to submit. And another thing is they're very afraid to be seen. Right. And that's a whole nother context. But I think when we deal with women, while we got some of these shortcomings and things like that, I'm not judging my sisters for how they want to wear their hair. Wear your hair how you feel it. Right. But when you can't embrace just yourself, sometimes just you looking like you without weaving your hair, without fake eyelashes on your face, without makeup on your face, just be yourself. Because there's beauty in that. Right. The beauty's in the melanation. Why do we want to change it? Right. And why do we want to change? I mean, you go get your hair blown out, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have a level of biasness, but I just believe that we have to be real in order to have real. And we got to be able to look at ourselves and see ourselves for who we are. And I know I've talked about that on this podcast before, just about myself. My journey with makeup, my journey with, self-identity and self-discovery, there's nothing wrong with that. But you got to be comfortable in you, and you got to be able to step away from people and not allow people to have so much of an impact on your life that you're not even willing to have happiness because you're so worried about what other people think.
Right. That's the thing right there, being able to walk in your truth. Because whether they natural, whether they got locks or whatever the case may be, if they're happy with it, I think it comes off. But it's like what I see from the outside looking in a lot of times. It's like women, they hiding their insecurities behind all this stuff. And it's like they only feel pretty when their hair is done. They only feel pretty when I got makeup on. I only feel pretty when my lashes on. So it's like they'll jump out a window before they let you see them without their hair done. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's like they sleeping halfway because they don't want the makeup to rub off. It's like, knock it off.
You saw that show. I don't know if you might be interested. I've been watching that show, Ready for Love. Ready for Love. It's on Oprah. I've been watching that, and I've been watching that Married at First Sight. I've been watching that because they're both social experiments about love. Right. But the Ready for Love is usually all Black folks.
Okay.
So it's really like an interesting thing. It starts off with like 10 guys, 10 women, and then it dwindles its way down. But I'm really enjoying seeing the psychology of it. But I remember one of the guys, I think it was a couple seasons back, but he was like, well, why don't you? Oh, it was on Married at First Sight. He was like, why don't you come on? We're going to get in the water. She was like, I'm going to get in the water, but I ain't getting my hair wet. And he was like, what's the big deal about you just getting your hair wet?
Right.
I think sometimes we're so worried about what we're going to look like on the other side that we're afraid to let ourselves just have fun and be loose and just go with the flow. And I think when you're dealing with guys, you're dealing with men in nature, and you're dealing with adventure of that. I think you got to realize that men don't care. I mean, like I said, they're visual, but it's not to that extent where if it's hindering you from being able to live your life, then that's a problem. Right. You know, I want to be able to roll over on in the morning and look at my husband, and I know that we both got funky breath. Right. You know what I'm saying? Crust in our eyes, but it's gonna be cool. Right. But I don't want to jump up every morning and have to beat him to the bathroom to beat my dang on face.
Right.
And that's terrible before I come outside.
That's terrible right there. And I'm gonna tell you from a man's standpoint, that's like a big turn on where it's like certain things like that, the makeup, the hair. She's willing to get in the water and get her hair wet. I don't care if her ponytail like that. It's my ponytail. I'm going to put that rubber band up. Girl, you look good. You go out there. But women, in their mind, I wouldn't dare let them see me. It's like, you being free around me. Right. That's the realest thing ever. It's like, okay, you can dress up and doll yourself up, but that's not who you are. Right. That's covering the flaws and all that. And if it makes you feel good as a man, I'm all for that. You knock yourself out, but it doesn't make me a yay or nay. Because like sometimes it's like we don't need all that. We might want to watch a movie and no, I can't mess my hair up. That damn hair getting on my nerves. That hair is about to be the death of us.
You can't pull it, you can't touch it.
Don't even look at it. Don't even look at it. Don't look at it too much. What in the world? $300 and I can't look at it? Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And it's crazy because, I'm not saying that women, we don't cost money. I'm not saying.
Right.
But I think the emphasis of how much we're willing to invest in it says something about us that we don't even realize. And that's me as a woman saying that. Wow. Like, you're willing to go and spend upwards of $300 on hair, then go to upwards of spending $300 for sewing. Right. Like, that's $600 for hair. Now, I'll get the backlash on this because it'll be, well, you're biracial.
Yeah, I'm not about to say nothing on that because they're going to be in my inbox already. I already know they're going to be mad. We love women in their rare form. I'm going to get you sucker status. Don't make me hop after you. Oh, no. Whoa. He said, we love women in their rare form. He's talking about, I'm going to get you sucker rare status. Don't make me hop up after you. You remember the girl she took off her hair?
Yeah.
She took off her arm. She took off her leg. Rob is a fool for that right there. He said, he's going to hop up after me. He said, it's his one-legged, and you better not touch it.
It's my one-legged. That's it. But I get a lot of backlash.
Right.
Like I said, because, number one, people will say, and I'm going to make sure I address this. They'll say, well, you're biracial, you're not Black.
Right. You are Black.
I am Black.
Right.
My daddy family, my daddy family, so we some ninjas, okay? That's why we some ninjas where I come from. And I identify with that. Now, yes, my mother is actually Hungarian.
Wow.
And so, being biracial is different. And I get it that in certain realms, women will say, well, you don't understand. I've had women say that to me about my hair, but look, I get it, I got it. I don't always want to wear my hair curly. Then when I straighten it, I don't like it straight. I don't know why. I just don't like that bone straight. So I put curls in it. You see, it's falling. We ain't even got I go through some of the same trials and issues that every other woman goes through.
Right.
It's just whether or not I'm willing to super alter myself for that. And I'm not.
Right.
I've come to the conclusion that God gave me what he wanted me to have. And, if it's weight loss, then I can go ahead and I can work on that. But my hair texture, skin complexion, there's certain things you can't work around. Right. And
what's going on, Ethor 99? How you doing, fella?
But there's certain things that I can't work around. And I think we as women have to, when we find the embracement of self, and when I say embracement of self, I'm talking about the being that God created you to be.
Right.
Learning your story, learning your flaws, learning to grow in areas that you need to grow for self-improvement.
Right.
Right? Because we're constantly growing. We're not going to master ourselves because we're constantly learning ourselves. Every chapter we age, we get into a new bracket, we learn something new, So we're constantly learning about us.
Right.
But I think that when we learn to embrace ourselves, like I said, the difference between narcissism and self-love, but learning to love who we are in God and what he gave us and who we are, what we look like, and our abilities and our strengths. The more happy we are and content with ourselves, the more that shines outward.
Right.
Because, and I've been around women, prime example, me and my husband, we went out last weekend. It was the first time we had been out, in a while, pandemic, all of that. So we go out. We went on a hot date. They call it hot date. We went on a hot date. And what I love about my husband is our ability to cut up. It don't matter if we go to the grocery store. It don't matter where we at. We just, I don't know, we just get in our own little zone. It's like nobody else is there. And we just really have a good time. We laugh, we cut up, we joke, we talk serious. But when we went, we drinking our little virgin daiquiris,
Right.
We drink our little virgin daiquiris. We don't drink. We drink our little virgin daiquiris, and we getting our dinner, and we in here eating appetizers, and we cutting up because we outside. We outside, like
we outside.
Restaurants are opening back up. We outside.
We outside right now.
Right. So, but there was like a double date that was happening.
Right.
Like, because how they got the social distance so we had.
That's what I was gonna ask. Did they have masks in the restaurants? Or no mask? We free willing.
No, once you get in there, the mask got to come off because you can't eat or drink with the mask on. Wow. But the waiters and stuff are wearing masks.
Right.
But there was like a table in between us, and then next to us it was like two couples. They were out together and whatnot. But me and my husband, we just cutting up, and I remember the man that was like facing towards me, like he was facing this way, him and his wife were facing this way. But they just kept kind of like glancing over, and I kept glancing back over at them, like, what, what I'm saying?
Right.
But my husband had made a statement. He was like, when we had left, he was like, I think people are still trying to really get back in the rhythm of just being outside and interacting with other people.
Wow.
And I said, I didn't think about it like that because I felt like they was all in there just uptight. They was just in there just stiff. We was in there just cutting up. But, you got to be able to be yourself. And when you find somebody that you can be yourself with, like women saying, well, I ain't going to fart around him for 5 years. Girl, you stupid. I'm not holding my gaze. I'm not doing it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to stop putting ourselves on a pedestal.
Right.
We got to stop putting ourselves on a pedestal and acting like their feelings don't matter and that there's no validation for them, because we talk about a lot about how we want the vulnerability of the black man, and we want him to feel safe, and we want him to do these things, but he's never going to do those things if we don't create the safe space for them to have that. I think we have to get past the idea of what black love looks like and really jump into what it actually is. And I think that's a problem sometimes when we look at television and we read books and movies that are geared towards blacks. Sometimes, it doesn't show us. It doesn't. It paints a portrayal sometimes that is an unrealistic thing to obtain.
Right. And that's real right there.
And I think that we as women have been. Now I get it. The Bible says a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Okay, cool. I got that. But women think that they're solely just a prize and that men are not a prize. And I don't think that is. I don't think that's valid. This is what I believe. Now I'm pointing out that at this point, this is what I believe. These are my facts. This is my opinion. And my opinion is fact to me. I don't believe that women are solely just a prize.
Right.
I don't think that it's about us and solely about us. Happy wife, happy life. I can laugh with you about that statement, but I believe that men are equally as a prize as women are. Who doesn't want a man that's going to work hard for them and is going to love them and protect them and to be vulnerable with them and to share his utmost, deepest, darkest secrets and thoughts and feelings and ideas, and for you to be able to see him in all his layers and all of what he has? Right. How is that equally not a prize?
That's real. That's real right there.
I think that we as black women have got misconstrued that it's all about us and it's never about them.
And that's a deal breaker right there. That's definitely
and the degrading of black men, and it's truly a sad thing to see.
Right.
Because our men have a history that we're not willing to take into account. We're not willing to take into account that men died a lot throughout slavery trying to protect women.
Right.
That's a fact.
Right.
The 13th Amendment, what about that? The removal of going back into slavery for free labor.
Right.
We understand that men were removed from the home. So if the man's removed from the home, then who's raising the sons? What ideology is being passed down to the sons that's creating a certain environment for them to have the ideologies that they have? Fathers are missing. They're on drugs, right? So now you have a generation of men who don't have the leadership that they should have, right? They have to go out here in the world and figure it out. And for their mistakes, they're ridiculed and reprimanded.
Right.
And women sometimes of our community feel like they can make all these mistakes, but there's no judgment. But yet we want to ridicule the man. But yet, here's the thing that kind of blows my mind, right?
Right.
Because for all of these women, from Bitter Barbara to what's her name?
Lucy Lou.
Lucy, we got Lucy, the Mandandina, Religious Founder, and Independent Eileen. They all got something in common though. They all want a man.
They all want him.
Y'all want a man. You still want a man.
Wow.
Just how your vision and how your perception around it works is different. But you all want a man. But if you want to be with a black man, then you really have to look at what the black man has been through.
Right.
Understand where the shortcomings are for the generations of black men, such as like my husband, generation. Some men in that generation had fathers, and some men in that generation didn't have fathers.
Right.
So for those that didn't have fathers or didn't have a male role model, they got to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's funny you saying that, because like as I'm listening, I'm thinking back to the whole show we've been talking, but you said it was 9-1. So it's almost like it's certain things. It's like, all right, like a race. It's like, yo, boom, we got to go to the camera. We got to go to a review on the play. We got to look at it.
Yeah.
They all pretty. Any woman can get cute.
Oh, yeah.
Every woman can, put that smell good on. Any woman can cook. Any woman can do all these things. It be
I
the
don't know about
little
any woman
things.
cooking though. I'm gonna throw that out there.
A lot of them can't cook. That's a deal breaker right there too. That's a deal breaker there too. Yeah, so but it be those little things like that where it comes down to it, because men, we really simple guys. Like we only want like maybe 7-8 things on the checklist. If you got she good to go with me. She good to go with me. So it's like, but like you said, it's still so hard to find, because every woman, I ain't gotta do that. The man gotta chase me, but they're not willing. This is what I'm bringing to the battle. Besides just, okay, if she's saying I'm bringing looks, it's 10 women bringing looks. Right. This one might be bringing a mind with it. This one might be understanding. This one might be, good with kids. This one might be a motivator. This one might believe in you. So now this is getting a little tough. I like my loyalty with my understanding. I like this with that. So it's like, it's a slim race. It could be something as simple as she took that wig off and she had that little ponytail and she was all mine. The rest of them, they all covered up. Yeah. I can't trust them. I don't know who they are.
That's right.
So I'm rolling with this one. I'm rolling with the winner. And me and ponytail up out of here. We walking into the sunset. Something that simple, because like if you always made up, who are you?
Right.
You can't pass gas around me. Who are you? What are you eating? What's so bad that you don't want me to find out?
Right. I think women have this. There are women that definitely have the femininity down. And when I say femininity, they look feminine. They dress feminine. They got that. But again, we got five different deal breaker characteristics.
Right.
And I think that we gotta come to some self-reflection. Like I said, and get away from your birds and feathers that flock together. See, one thing about our Black culture, bless our hearts, we do it, and I'm gonna throw it out there.
Edor, he say, see you, Nat. Edor 99. Edor 99.
I see you, baby. I think that one of the biggest things in our community is that we are crabs in a bucket. We do that a lot, and we got to stop doing it. We got to continue to lift and build each other. But women, because we are so competitive at this point, when we said 9 to 1, honey, girl, no, wouldn't do. So the same people you listen to is the same people who out there looking to want a man too, especially if it's a bunch of y'all single together.
Wow. That's real,
so
right there.
Somebody tell you no to this and they ain't got no man. Honey, look, I need to know. I check the sincerity of people when people tell me stuff.
Right.
Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of love, or is you coming off because that was a story that you had that happened to you, so you want me to see it your way? I can validate your story, but okay, there it is. Yep, but that doesn't mean that I got to see it the same way that you see it.
Right.
But we have got to stop doing that. We've got to stop putting ourselves on some kind of pedestal. Right. Now, if and this is gonna hurt some people's feelings right here, and I Lord please, they gonna come for most of us in the comment section. They're gonna be all look. If you come and you want to message me on Facebook, I will be more than glad to talk to you. But don't come for me, okay? Because I'm gonna tell you what.
Don't come. I'm gonna send you back limping now.
Yeah, look, I don't do negativity. I don't handle negativity well, and I respond to certain things, but I don't feed into negativity.
Right. That's a fact.
You want Black men, you got to be willing, again, to understand the history, understand where they are, and you got to stop being so shallow. Women have become just as shallow as men have displayed themselves being, right?
Right.
Now, we all know of Kevin Samuels.
All right, all right. You leave Kevin out of this now. Kevin,
Look,
we love Kevin on this platform.
I'm gonna say my piece. I'm gonna wrap up and say my piece with Kevin.
All right. I got the mute button. I got my hand on the mute button. It goes the wrong way. Kevin Samuels is a friend to the show. Now,
Kevin Samuels says some things that I do not like.
Right.
But Kevin Samuels also says some things that if you look at it from a worldly point of view, he's accurate.
Right.
All y'all women want men with 6 figures. But what are you bringing to the table? He said you bringing 2, 3 kids by somebody else. And he got to take care. He got to raise. You not in shape. Your body ain't tight. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no education. Or you been married and divorced. He likes to call it a high value man.
Right.
So you got the high value men, and then you got the high value women, right? So I had been listening to a podcast one time, and I said, why high value men and the high value women don't get together? And then I realized it goes back to the basic principle. A man will marry a younger woman because she's young in her femininity. She hasn't had the bad traits that life is going to bring her. Now, whether or not he's going to be genuine with her or he's going to divorce her at a certain day, I can't speak on whether or not he's going to be shallow. Okay, I can't speak on whether or not he's going to be shallow.
Right, that's Rob. Yeah, Rob on the tape. We say he's doing it his own damn self tonight. Great conversation.
Thank you. But a man who makes that kind of money is still going to want a woman that's going to be loving, nurturing, supportive, uplifting, and understand what her role is as a wife. I don't care. Like I said, I'm not trying to take you back to the 50s. I ain't trying to do that. There's nothing wrong with being an educated Black woman who has a decent career, makes decent money. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem becomes when it becomes the say all be all about, well, he got to make 6 figures with me, and he got to do this, and he got to do that, and he got to do this, and he got to do that. Well, what do you got to do?
Right.
What do you got to do?
We can get park it right there. You know, right there for the women in the back.
I want you to think about that. Like, are women doing some things that their men want them to do? Are you keeping yourself up? Right? Because you've been with somebody for a long period of time. It's easy to get complacent. We still wearing lingerie. We still doing our little dainty stuff that we was doing in the beginning when he got with us, that we was trying to do when we got him. Are we doing it now?
This is a good spot to put the donation box, because you talking good. You just keep going, fellas. Y'all check the donation, drop them on in there, because she's telling y'all the real.
So I think for women, it's easy for us to have demands, but we get complacent in that. If a man has options and you really don't have none at this stage, right? And I'm not saying that you don't have choice, because we as women, we still have choice. But if you're not willing to give exactly what it is that you're wanting to receive back, you're going to have a hard time in a long-term relationship. Men don't want mothers in a relationship. And if you find yourself being somebody's mama, then you in the wrong relationship.
And that's all around the board. That's being too much. Yo, do this, do that.
Let me tell you something. Men need to be able to do certain things for themselves.
Right.
And it makes them feel like a man to be able to do it. Right. Now, there are certain things that a woman will come behind and maybe help a man out.
Right.
But if you feel like you gotta check him about every little dang old thing, because you don't feel like it's on the up and up, then you in the wrong place.
Right. And I gotta do this shameless plug for the fellas. Not only do we don't want women acting like our mama, we don't want them shopping in the same section as our mothers either. You can't do it. You can't do that. I just had to put that out there, ladies.
No, and I believe that. I believe that a woman should dress tasteful. I think she should have some style about her. But I think if you out here showing it all off, honey, ain't no man gonna take you serious. He not gonna take you serious. Because if you showing it to the world, that means everybody else done seen it. He don't want what everybody else done seen. He don't want what everybody else done had.
My precious. She gave away the precious.
So we gotta get past that, the feminist movement about equality. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm all about progressive. I'm all about us progressing as a people. I'm all about us progressing as a whole society. I'm all about the betterment of people. But baby, when you sit here and you talk about you want the equality, you really don't, because women are not built like men. Right. If we deal, and we just had a conversation, if men think with their minds about getting married over what they feel, right, then it has to logically make sense to them. I'm about to spend the rest of my life with her. Okay, I need to know that she gonna do da 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 da. I need to see it. I need to see it. At least both. We need to go out
in action. I need to see it in action. What's she gonna do? Let's put some pressure on her. Let's turn the fire up.
He wants to see consistency. He needs to see consistency. He's looking at things that you're not even looking at. You so wrapped in about how you feel over here. So if we're emotionally driven and they're logically driven, they let you know, number one, that we can't even do what they do. Women can't even handle the same amount of stress that a man can handle. Science actually proves that.
Right. Oh, you talking real.
So we got to be careful with this whole the movement of Black women within our culture. We've got to do better.
I disagree. What?
I'll let you disagree. I'll let you disagree. We're gonna keep it pushing. I love you, Rob, but I ain't going there with you tonight. But that goes to show you the design of God.
Right.
God didn't put the woman above the head.
Right.
He knows why he didn't do that. Mentally, emotionally, we don't think on that level. That's okay. But let me tell you something. Behind every Black man has been great.
It's a great woman.
Black women behind them that have supported the dream, have committed to the dream, have raised their babies, have loved them and nurtured that family so that family could make the progression that it made. Malcolm X had a wife.
Right.
Martin Luther King had a wife.
Right.
Look at some of our famous leaders in history, the contribution of their wives. So people say, oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, it doesn't have to be your role, but the idea is to get you to understand that you still have to nurture, encourage, and support.
Right.
The man fulfills where the woman is kind of the backseat hand of that. Giving the love, giving the support, giving the nourishment. And in return, he's going to do the same things to you. No, if God told, if Jesus told husbands to love their wives like he loved the church and submit yourselves, that love is equally returned.
Right.
But you just don't get to be on the receiving end or have demands and expectations. But when he demand and expect that you do something too, then you want to get butthurt about it.
There's the Me Too movement now.
I don't want you to be obese. I want you to lose some weight. I want your body to be tight. But if you say, oh, he got to make 6 figures, those two don't. You both want something.
Take me as I am now. That's what they're going to say. Take me. Why can't you take me the way I am?
Well, you ain't taking him how he go.
Right.
And like I said, there are a lot of brothers out here that's making anywhere between 40 and, I say 40 in an easy 100,000. I put you in a low bracket of 6 figures. But there are brothers out here that are making money between $40,000 and $100,000 a year. They had their shit together. They ain't got no kids. You know what I'm saying? They educated. They just don't meet the standard of society of what you want to be able to show off to people on your social media or to take around and to be in these influential crowds. And maybe that's not what he cares about.
Right. He thinking that you about to take my little bit. I'm about to go broke trying to keep up with your dreams and lose what I got because you up here trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. So I think it's if that's who you want to be and you want to be on the surface level, then you're gonna get you a superficial relationship.
Right. I
And
heard
it's
a
never
powerful.
going to produce the fruit that you want. So that was
Right.
my commentary tonight for women. I'm sorry if I upset some of y'all. I know some of y'all don't like it. It's okay. You know, we got on men a little bit in the first part of the second series that we
Right.
did on relationships. I kind of got on men a little bit more in that one. I'm gonna say we're both flawed,
We both
but
flawed. We both
in
flawed.
order for this to work, though, we as women really got to start seeing ourselves and stop pointing the finger solely at black men, because we do have an opportunity within our culture to be able to repair and to have strong black families. But that
Right.
requires for us women to really check ourselves, check our biases, check our motives, check where we at, and really start to reevaluate some things in our lives.
Yeah, that's a fact right there, yo. And you just said a powerful thing, yo. We got to start loving one another, building each other up, right? And it
That's
starts
right.
in our community, yo. It starts on this thing. So if you got love in your heart, you smash that heart button. We got to have love. You got to build it up. Yeah, we building it up. We tore down
But
the men the first time. It's not even tearing down. We uplifting and we showing this is real. We being transparent. We laughing and having a
yes,
good time. But these are
yeah,
real situations that we deal with and we don't address. It's not addressed. So it's like the thing is, it says, I heard a saying that says, you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. So
right.
it's like a lot of times we blaming everybody else. It's them, it's them, it's them, because we're getting all these wrong people. But what is it
Mhm.
inside of us that connects to them and
Right.
keeps drawing these type of people? So it's like you said, like if we want better, we got to inform ourselves. We got to make changes. It's like it don't always feel good. Like,
Yeah.
yo, I got to do better. You know, and it's like
And we're
every day.
misinformed. And
Right.
we're misinformed a lot. And sometimes we got to look at our parents. If you were raised by a single mother who had been hurt, the ideology that she pushed onto you.
Right.
Um, we got to address your father wounds. For women whose fathers weren't there, just
Right.
because you get with a man that makes 6 figures don't mean he gonna be any better. We have got to address the things that are wrong with us that give us the false information that we run around with, these false beliefs, these false ideologies that we harbor. We've really got to start addressing that about ourselves.
Right.
Okay. And we got to fix that. But I understand that we're running out of time.
Right.
And when I say that, people are rushing to get into relationships because they're running out of time. And I'm going to tell you what, it's unfortunate because a lot of people going to find themselves in relationships that they're not happy with. Right. Because they're forcing themselves to be in relationships because they feel like they're running out of time. And me and my husband had talked about that not too long ago, especially for women. Once we get to a certain bracket, and I didn't want to acknowledge that. I didn't want to acknowledge that, women are going to have a harder time, getting married after a certain age point.
My biological clock is ticking.
And my husband said it. He said, as much as, we don't want to stigmatize that, that is the truth. He said, women who get older, who don't want to have no more children or haven't had any children and don't want to have children, that could be a deal breaker for men. Men want to continue their legacies. You know what I'm saying? So that could be a deal breaker. Women who are uneducated. He said, we're not saying she's got to be a judge, but we want somebody that can stimulate our brains.
Right.
We want some form of stimulation.
Right.
So he was like, the reality of it is for older women, they are competing with younger women because of the number of how many men it is, how many women it is to one man.
Right.
But we got to find a way to make ourselves look. We are desirable. Right. I don't care what nobody. We are desirable. Black women are desirable. We are beautiful. We are mothers of all. That's what I like to call them.
Yes.
I believe that every race came from the black race. Right. And out there too, little sidebar. But I believe that we are desirable. And I believe that we have a lot to offer. I believe that we are powerful beyond measure. History shows us the strength of Black women. it shows us what the force of a Black woman is behind a great Black man.
Right.
We see the power dynamic. So I think that we don't have to compete with the newer generation if we're willing to show up and come correct with our age and our wisdom, right, and show that we really have that growth in us. We wouldn't be competing with the younger generation.
Right.
Because the younger generation ain't doing nothing but getting wet tails. And they ain't getting married.
That's the thing right there. If they had the example, we get it together. The younger generation has a blueprint to follow. But now it's kind of like anything goes. So it's like we winging it. They don't got a chance. It's like if there's no order set for them to, like, this is the blueprint. This is what you do.
Right.
Like the generations before us, they told us you get married. This is what you do. Bop, bop, bop. When we seen it, it wasn't like, you know, over time is the gap is widened. There was a time where it was like that was the thing. Where it's like now it's like our generation, you may have some families that's together, a lot of them are not. So it's like now their kids grow up, it becomes their normal, which is not normal. But in their mind, it's like, yo, that's just the way it is. So it's like they're winging it. So it's like the stuff we were doing, we were wilding. They're on a whole nother level of wild because it's like even with us getting in trouble and wilding, our parents was like, you know better. Nowadays, the parents, you're gonna find out on your own. You're gonna bump your head. I ain't fooling with you.
Thank God for my mother, you know, even in our and my relationship with my mother. But I will say this: the one thing that I did learn, and maybe you know, a lot of women will say I'm foolish for this. I don't know, but I grew up in a household where my mother, you know, catered with my grandmother and my grandfather's sister, Pauline, my aunt Pauline. Her and my grandmother had a catering business, so I remember learning how to cook at the age of 5. My grandmother would let me sit on the couch and she would show me how to peel potatoes. By age 7, I could go in the kitchen and cook my own whole breakfast, pancakes, eggs, and bacon by myself without nobody having to get up and interfere me burning the house down. Right. So I grew up in a household, and this is why I say, you know, I understand the disconnect because but my father's parents were married all the way up until my grandfather's death. Right. You know what I'm saying? But now those households to me still looked very much the same. They were just different in color, right? And different in you know, some of the trials and tribulations that they had to face. But the basics were there. But my grandmother, you know, she taught me how to cook. My grandmother, both of my grandmothers were very nurturing, very loving, very supportive. You know, I can see how they affected, you know, how they went about in their marriages. And maybe that was a step for me to be able to have something to mirror. Because for me, a big thing for me as a wife is I love to take care of my family. Right. I love to cook for my family. I make homemade lemonade. That's what I'm drinking now. I hope nobody think I'm drinking on camera. But I love, my favorite thing is homemade lemonade. I love homemade lemonades. It's always a homemade lemonade in here, whether it's blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, peach. But I like doing those things for my family. Right. I like baking from scratch for my family. That's how I was raised. So there are things that you will naturally bring over. And I'm not going to sit there and say that I didn't have unhealthy, because I told y'all I was demanding. Right. So we all can come from something great and still get misconstrued ideology. Or we can get misconstrued ideology and still turn around and make that right.
And make it right. Right. We don't have to keep going the wrong way. We can turn it around.
But we got to stop worrying about, you know, Cardi B telling you she don't cook, she don't clean. They got that girl on dang on video sweeping her damn house. Look, let me tell you something. I don't want to be that kind of bitch. Because I don't want that kind of house. Because I'm gonna tell you why. Because I don't want nobody to come in and clean my house. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, why can't I take care of what it is that I bought for myself? That we bought. You know what I'm saying? It's something about doing things and having pride in doing it. I'm not above that. And I think sometimes we women, we think that we're above something.
Right.
And we got to realize that we're not.
Right.
You're not above being a homemaker. What did my man say? He said, you buy your wife a house, she'll make you a home.
Right.
You give your wife some money, she'll flip it for you.
Not no more. It depends on nowadays. You give her some money, she come back with red bottoms and a bunch of shoes and clothes.
She might do that. She might do that today. But you know, you give her children, she'll nurture and love your offspring. Like there used to be a balance with that.
Right. Right. It was together. It was working together back then.
And it just blows my mind, like the level of women that can't cook, that can't wash clothes, you can't clean your house.
Right.
You just nasty.
Just nasty.
Get it together.
Attitude nasty, they nasty, house nasty, all of that. So it's like that's it.
My grandma told me. Now my daddy, mama boy, she the truth. Now I'm gonna tell you like that. She boy, she'll play. She say, don't no man want no nasty woman.
Right.
Because if you're nasty, your body nasty. If your house nasty, your body nasty. Don't no man want no nasty woman. Don't no man want no nasty woman. See, I had grandparents that used to spit the game to me.
Wow. And that's real. And that's what we need back there. We need more big mamas. We need more, we need less GGs. We need more grandmothers. We need more big mamas. Yeah. GGs and them, they at the mall. I'm at the same club that with the rest of the family. All right, y'all know I gotta. Hey.
Gigi got on crop tops and her belly button pierced too.
She got her belly button pierced too with the tongue ring. It said this is prescription. This was prescribed. She's smoking gas. What is that, Grandma? This is prescribed. Don't you worry about me. That's the way we living. But it's like we got to get back to the realness. So that's why it's like, yo, when we talk about these topics right here, they're so big. It's hard to cram it in. Because they become so big, and when you start dissecting it and breaking it down, it's like, yo, it affects so many people. So we're talking about the independent Black woman movement, and we're talking about, it's nothing wrong with empowering the women. We don't want the women to think, we're saying, get back in the corner and none of that. We want y'all to evolve. We want you to grow. But when we talk about the Black family, when we talk about being married, when we talk about being a wife, we're talking about, let's bring it back to the foundation.
Oh, yes.
Of loving one another, being family first, being team first, where it's like, we're going to stick and stay. And it's like, you know what? We from that era. So it's like, I'm joking. I was saying to build it up earlier, but it's like, now I'm thinking of Ashford and Simpson. You got to be solid.
Yeah.
When things come, when life comes at you, when problems come, when it's like, because sometimes you don't even, it ain't even easy to love every day. It's a choice, but it's not always easy to love. Even in them days, you got to remain solid. You got to remember, like, it's the big picture is bigger than this. Because if it's just based on feelings, we be real, truth be told, if it's just based on a feeling, and a lot of people, they think, well, I don't feel that. And it's like, I get it. You should have more good days than bad.
Right.
But love is not a feeling. Love is an action and choice.
That's right.
And love don't always feel good.
No.
It's like do
they think Jesus loved to go get crucified?
Wow, he said, take it from me. It's a man at a bar right now. He's looking at the bartender. He said, give me a double. And while he's taking that double, he's saying, Lord, if you don't fix it, I don't know what I'm going to do. She's got me at the end of my wits end. She's got me at my wits end. If you don't do it, Lord, it ain't going to be done. Then you got a woman on the other side who's saying, I'm tired of him, because you got the flip side with the submission.
Oh, yeah.
You got some men that go too far now.
Right.
Now they want to control. Now my property. Now I'm going to disrespect you. We're not talking about that kind of submission.
Right. No, we're not.
You got women that's going through that, saying, Lord, if I can just make it out before I kill this Negro, throw it all away. Because if he touched me one more time, I'm liable to slit his throat. We're being real now. That's on the extreme levels where you got the men in them because you stopped communicating. You lost respect for one another. You didn't have the foundations and many million reasons how you can get here. Where it's like, now what I'm going to do. So, you know, we trying to do this show to show y'all like, yo, you've been married how many years?
I'll be married 11 years in September.
11 years in September. Hopefully one day I'll be married. Because now I understand. Before I thought for a long time, I just got to find me a wife. What you said, Russian now, I got to find me a wife because everybody's getting married.
Well, people are afraid they're going to run out of time and they're going to end up alone too.
Right. And
what's sad is for most Black women, you know, 8 out of 9.
Right. And it's like, it was a time. It was a time in my life where it's like, I didn't value myself. So it's like, instead of having a standard, my standard kind of dipped because it's like, now I'm looking at the clock. We got to get something in. We got to close a deal before the time runs out. From that, rushing and like you said, not doing the research, you make bad decisions. So it's like now rebuilding myself. So the next time around, it's like, yo, I know now. Nah, I deserve better. Right. So it's like, I'm glad we're talking about this. So when they start dropping it, Scion, I deserve this. And I'm going to say, I know, baby girl, but let me explain this. I deserve. And then when we come to the one, it's going to be the big bulb and God is going to do it and it's love. But it's like, we got to respect one another, men and women. And we got to get these people that's selling entertainment. They're just, you know, it's like, okay, we get in the car, Humpty dance, here's your chance to do the hump. I'm having a good time because that's my jam. But when it's time to get out the car and go to work, I'm not going to walk in the workplace. Oh, do it, baby. They might fire me. You don't bring that mess in here. It's the same thing. So it's like when we listening, it's like if y'all, you know, decide you want to listen to that music, it's entertainment. But you got to know when to cut it off. If you want to watch reality TV, you want to watch these, you got to understand. The director says that's a wrap. Now they go home to their real lives. They go home to their husbands. They go home to their wives and all this stuff. What you're seeing on TV is just entertainment. If it makes you angry, if it makes you, well, if he come in tonight, I'm going to do just what she did. I'm going to cuss him out. They did their job. I mean, they evoked a feeling in you. You acted on it, on something that was make-believe. But it's like, now you watch it. She stood up to him. Tonight's the night. Soon as he come in, now her man comes in. She's da. They're divorced. It ain't go the way it went on TV. Now they're divorced.
No.
You come to find out she's been married the whole time they've been making this. They don't even have marriage problems. But you looking at a facade on TV or you watching somebody's social media. It's been millions of people. They look like the happy couples. A couple months later, years later, what happened? Well, he was beating me up. She was this, that, because you never saw that side. Right. But you got people this is our blueprint. I want my marriage just like theirs. No, because Cruz brings her orange juice every morning, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday with a croissant on the side. I brought bacon. You don't care about my health. Now I'm in an argument. I'm trying to be nice. But because Kevin Samuel said it this way, because Alana Fix My Life said it this way. If you don't do it that way, and people be tripping like, yo, come on, it's everybody's different. Everybody's like you meet some women. I'm a chill because I know we running on time. It's like I meet women sometimes and they say, I shouldn't have to tell you how to talk to me. I shouldn't have to tell you how to treat me. And I'm looking, if I treated you like the last joker, you might feel disrespected. I'm trying to give you your respect. How do you want me to talk to you? Because the other one said, yo, get on over here, you the stupid self. If I call you that, you mad. But what is it that women feel like is one size fit all? I shouldn't have to tell you. Or I know what a man like. How do you know what I like? Unless we have a conversation. So it's like, you know, it goes back to the Willie Lynch letter. It goes back to all that stuff. You know this and I know. It's conquer and divide. A house divided can't stand. So
That's
it's
right.
like they put these propagandas out there, and we take the bait.
That's right.
We suffer. Our marriage, like, yo, I should have swallowed my pride. I know I was wrong. I should have just said sorry. But you have people, I'm gonna let the house burn. Oh, well, I ain't saying nothing. Then you know you were wrong. You know all it took was, yo, my bag. I shouldn't have did that. People let the whole relationship go of pride. I'm not gonna say nothing. That's what, and you're gonna be mad because I'm mad. You're mad, and I'm more mad now that you're mad that I'm mad.
Right.
And these are the games that we play in 2021. So it's like, let's cut the foolishness out. Let's get back to working together. And truth be told, none of it's easy. We all got to stay focused. We all, and it's like, it takes two. It's like, you know, he can't be doing all the work and she chilling. She can't be doing all the work. And it's like, you're going to have the moments where it's like, he may be working a little hard. She may be working a little hard, but you got to both keep working. That's the only way that's going to last. And it's the only way it's going to work. And like you said, we got to have a spiritual being. It's some kind of ground that says, you know what, this is the law. This, we may disagree, but we can't disagree with this. So whether that's y'all, these are our vows or these are our principles or whatever for your family, this is the book. We said, because if not, then you're making it up as you go. It's always going to be a tug of war. So we're talking about independent Black women, the Black woman independent movement. We're not beating y'all down. We're saying we celebrate y'all growth. But let's keep it in perspective when it comes to the family, because being the, I can't say all their names. I know it's Eileen.
Independent Eileen.
So now we don't need nobody. A lot of them, you know what I'm saying, is like, yo, now they the ones breaking up a lot of homes. You don't need that. Don't put up with that. It's like, take it back to middle school. A lot of your friends, I would break up with them. Now you break up with them, she with them next month. Now you ready to fight.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the same thing. You got some women, I don't got nobody. It's as successful as I am, I don't have nobody. So they're going to tell you, I would leave him. I wouldn't put up with that. But she would love to have him.
Oh, yeah.
But women ain't going to tell you that.
Want you to leave so she can get him.
So it's like, we got to be careful with that. So we got the independent Eileens. We got the demanding Debbie, right?
Yeah.
The Lucy.
Lucy. And then we got Religious Rhonda and Bitter Barbara.
And the bitter Barbara. And I like how you brought it together and you tied in the different personalities and you made it, interesting with the personalities and you tied it together. That's what the show is about, because it's like, we just want to help people. And it's like, all of this ties back to trauma, because like with the wrong information, it's like we're hurting people. Women are damaged. They're damaging men. Men damaged. They damaging women. And it just becomes a never ending cycle. And it's like the same thing with drive-bys. You kill me, they kill one person, come back, retaliate. It's the same thing. So it's like, as Black people, we gotta get to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm not your enemy. You're not my enemy. And if we're talking about being in love and relationships, it's just nothing to it but to do it.
That's it.
So, again, this is the proof. I'm gonna let you tie it all in with the final words and all that. I know they're gonna be mad.
They're gonna be upset.
But it's the truth anyhow. It's the truth anyhow. And it's like, again, like, I'm definitely excited about the topic. I've definitely learned a lot about it, and it's definitely needed, because you see that a lot. It's like, even down to, like you said, the demasculation of men. And it's like, I look at certain situations, I look at TV and how they try to portray the man almost like, I got a friend, and I'm gonna be quick. I got a friend, and she's that's my dog, but she's too much. She's too much. One of her favorite things to say, and if she's watching, she's gonna definitely be hot with me later. One of her favorite things to say to guys, and I don't know what it is. She says, "Mine is bigger than yours." Like, when she really get the fussing, mine is bigger than yours. And she'll tell a guy that, and in front of other guys, and we'd be sitting there like, most of these her friends or whatever, we laughing like, yo, man, like, but it's a demasculating of the man. Like, yo, I'm taking your manhood. My ball is probably bigger than yours. And it's like,
Don't no man want to deal with somebody
Right.
who has as much testosterone as they do. And that
Right.
goes into that demanding, goes into demanding Dina is,
Right.
part of that is the masculine energy that a woman will try to give off.
Right.
And you got to understand, remind yourself that you're not a man. I like to say, I get it, the relationships between, same sex relationships, I know that there's a lot of studs out there.
Right.
You a stud until you come up against the man. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
You a stud until, but that's my point. Like, you want to give the masculine energy, but if a masculine energy came back at you in a real way, you can't. What you gonna do? I mean, we can all sit here and say, "I fight a man," yeah, but you gonna lose.
Right.
You're not a man, and it's a huge turnoff for a woman to want to display that kind of energy,
Right.
and think that a man is going to find that attractive.
No.
Men that are heterosexual men are attracted to feminine women.
Right.
It is the opposite of himself.
Right.
So if you want to pretend to be masculine, no man is going to find that attractive enough to want to have a long-term relationship with you.
You gotta be soft. They want something to snuggle with. They want something soft, and
but they want your mouth to be soft too.
Right.
They want you to be nurturers. They want you to be classy. They want you to have a level of regalness too.
Right.
You out here speaking like that all the dang on time. That ain't cute.
Too much. It's too much. And like you said, this person without self-control, there it goes. And because it's like, okay, and it's like we're used to it because like none of us are like in that type of situation. So it's like platonic with everybody else that's there. So to us, it's like, yo, but in your mind, you're thinking, like, this is the wrong person. This could go bad.
Yeah.
And of course, we there, so they ain't gonna do but so much. There's men there, so it's like all right, that's like sister, all right, yo.
But it's still demasculating to the men that you're saying it to.
It's demasculating to the man, and it's like so it puts them in an awkward situation where it's like, and if he responded, it could go really bad
because he's around a bunch of men.
Right, and it can go really bad, and it's like that's just
you
like
pull these people up sometimes and be like, hey, like what is your reason behind speaking to somebody like that? Like what do you gain out of the gratification of
I would say abuse already. I would say somebody did it to them. I would think. I don't know for sure, but I will ask. But if I had to make a guess, at one point in time, somebody made her feel inferior, and it's like from that, never again. Because it's almost like a defense mechanism. It's almost.
It kind of grows into that thing where one person hurt me, so I'm going to constantly, hurt everybody else.
Right.
You got to work through that, But it's not a good impression. It doesn't speak about you in a manner that makes someone want to be around you.
Right.
So I guess my last words would be that I hope that the information was helpful. Again, I don't go out my way to offend anybody or to hurt any feelings, but I do keep it real. I try to always fact check my stuff before I come, I'll let you know what is opinion based and what is not, but I really hope that we didn't offend anybody, but that we gave food for thought for people to start checking themselves internally so that our Black women can be healthy mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and so that they can also have healthy relationships, not only with their children, but with, Black men whom we desire to want to be with and marry.
Right.
And, if you're interested in life coaching, definitely look up Miss Tiana. You can type in the 5 hindrances that Black women have that's keeping them from successful relationships. There's a YouTube video that'll pop up with that. And it'll give you the name of the Black women's coaching group that she does. And she really does help women who want to be in successful relationships really take a look at themselves and, really just kind of delve deep in what their issues are that's kind of keeping them from getting into those relationships that they want to have. So, I recommend that, or I can always come back and post the link in the comment section below so that you guys can just click on the link and go ahead and go to the video and check it out. Great information, though. Really great information. And I appreciate y'all for having me on the show. Yeah. Scion, once again, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And, I guess I'll see y'all again in 2 weeks.
All right, we'll do it in 2 weeks. So we want to thank everybody for watching the show today. We definitely want to give a special thanks to psychoeducational therapist Natalie Collier for coming through like she always does, keeping it real. And I know she sacrifices her time to put it together, do all the research and make it. So again, like, if y'all need help, you need advice, be sure to hit her up. If you got questions or something that y'all want to talk about, be sure to put them in the comments and we'll try to address them as they come. But again, we'll be back in 2 weeks. This is the Trauma Series. Natalie Collier. I go by the name of Scion 919. We thank everybody for watching. This is the Proof in the Pudding, and we up out of here. We love y'all.